Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 135.
Oh, yes.
One day, I shall come back.
Oh dear, we are in trouble, aren't we?
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
I have the advantage of being slightly ahead of you. Sometimes behind you, but normally ahead of you.
But the trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
A meteor stormed and the sky above us was dancing with lights. Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes!
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Just remember who's standing in your way.
Look at the eyebrows. These are attack eyebrows. You can take bottle tops off with these.
Howdy do, Who fans. Hope you're all having a cracking week. And that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. Got loads of news coming up today. Lots and lots of news. Some cool merch, actually.
Yeah.
And then we're on to our review. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Bit of Alonzi action.
Yeah.
With Gridlock. Yes. Somebody asked me a little while ago. I think it was on one of the live streams. Somebody said, what is it that you two say at the end of your show?
Yeah.
And I think a few people have asked that over the year. It doesn't happen often, but I think I was like the second or third person that asked that. So I had to explain that it is in fact Alonzi.
Yeah.
Alonzi.
We never get it into. I think in the whole, what are we on now? 135. In all those 135 episodes, have we, I think once we've managed to get it in time. I actually prefer it when we don't. I always think if we get it in time, it's not fun.
Yeah,
I prefer it when we're out of sync by a country mile.
Of course, yeah. We like to rock the classic years of Doctor Who when things were a little bit flaky and wobbly, rather than the tight ship where everything's perfect in newer Who.
Yeah, exactly.
We're more akin to classic production values rather than new Who. But yeah, there was one episode we ran out of music as well, so ended up just doing it in bloody silence.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah because the music changed, didn't it? And this one sort of catches us out sometimes in terms of it's a bit shorter or something. I'm not sure, because you do it your end, obviously. So yeah, there was one week when we were just still waffling away, and then it just stopped and we were like, oh, we've run out.
Because that's unlike us to waffle away.
Yeah, isn't it just?
I read you.
Yeah.
What have you been up to, buddy? I know you've had a really busy weekend.
Yeah, you had a cracking weekend, actually.
Tell us.
Not one, but two Doctor Who conventions this weekend just gone by.
Sweet.
Ran surprisingly smoothly, because I've been getting quite uptight about it as they both approached, because they're both in London, but one was in Westminster and the other one was in Chiswick, so not a million miles apart, but enough to sort of think, can I do both with the timings of when the guests were going to be there and stuff. So yeah, I was getting a little bit apprehensive and sort of wrestling in my sleep and stuff, and but it all went very smoothly. It was a really, really good day, actually. So I started up in Westminster. And it's a beautiful sunny day, actually. And Tom Baker was there. Peter Davison was there. Colin Baker was there. I didn't meet Tom because he was there later on, and I've met him a couple of times before. But our good friend Adam, ex-Ultimate Whovian, he stayed and met Tom and got an absolutely gorgeous print signed by him. He looks so well again, Tom. He really does look amazing. Like Adam showed me his picture with him. Looks incredibly well.
Good.
Colin was there, obviously. Sir old Colin. I didn't get his autograph either, because I have got about 1 million autographs by Colin. I did feel a bit sorry for him, because when I was there, he was just sat looking at his phone, and I was just thinking, oh, poor old Colin. I mean, he does go to every convention, so there's probably a lot of fans, have met him already.
Yeah.
So I did meet Peter. He was in a good mood.
Oh, good. Cool.
I told him how much I liked the Doctor Who interview, and I said, I like the fact you were very candid in it. You were very honest. And he sort of grimaced and laughed and said, yeah, I was a bit, wasn't I? I said, yeah, but it was good. I said, it made for a very interesting read. And we spoke a bit about his Big Finish audios and stuff. So that was good. Peter was in a very good mood, actually. Got his autobiography signed and stuff.
Excellent. Cool.
And who else was there that day? Julian Glover was there, but I didn't meet him because I wanted a Scaroff picture signed and he didn't have one. He had loads of. He must be in Game of Thrones because I don't watch Game of Thrones, but I'm pretty sure he had loads of pictures from that. Is he in that? Yeah, I thought it's Game of Thrones. I was looking at him thinking it looks a bit Game of Thronesy. So he had loads of those pictures, but he had a Doctor Who one, but it was sort of a. It was a print of the City of Death VHS cover or something. It wasn't. It wasn't good enough for me to get signed. So unfortunately, I have met him before, so I didn't get his autograph. Who else is there? Oh, Gemma Redgrave.
Cool. Yep.
Who plays? Is it Kate Stewart?
Kate Stewart.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're so good with names. She was there. She was really nice actually. She had her queue was massive. I didn't think I was going to get to meet her because when I got in there, her queue was just round the block, and I thought, I won't bother because she's at one of the Showmasters events soon. I thought I'll grab her then. But I did, as I was about to leave, the queue had died down, so I jumped in and met her. A little bit annoying actually. There was a miscommunication between the staff and the organizer because when I asked the guy sat next to Peter, I said, I'm buying 2 autographs. That's £40. And he'd got a sign saying selfies were £10. But I thought maybe forget the autograph so I can get a picture. And the guy was like, no, it's still £10 extra if you want a photo. And I was like, no, I don't really agree with paying £10 extra for a photo on my phone. So, well, I'll just get the 2 autographs. So I didn't get a picture of Peter. And Gemma had got a sign up saying the same, selfies £10. So I didn't bother to ask. But she was getting pictures with everybody. But I just assumed they'd paid. But long story short, when I got back, when I looked at the Facebook page for the Westminster Film Fair, it said that if you bought an autograph, you could get a picture with it. You didn't have to pay.
Oh, no.
So I was a little bit annoyed about that. So I was like, so I could have got, because one of my friends who went got a picture of Peter. And I was like, did you pay £10 for that? He's like, no, because I told them. It said it was included on their Facebook page. And they just went, okay then. And I was like, no. So I was a little bit annoyed, had the edge taken off a bit because I was like, I could have got pictures of both then. But anyway, got some nice orders from them. And then I shot across town to Chiswick. And there was loads of people at this month's Phantom event. So we had Daphne Ashbrook,
Old Dashni.
Old Dashni. Yeah, it's great to see her again. And obviously Yi So. I can't remember the character's name from the TV movie. The master calls him the Asian child, doesn't he? The Asian child. And that old girl goes, Bruce.
Oh wait,
but
what's his name? Is he
Shang-Li? Is it?
Yi So is the.
I mean, but the listeners will know what I mean. It's the guys from the McGann TV movie.
Shang-Li.
It's the Shang-Li. That's it. So he was there. Obviously, we've met Daphne before. She was lovely. And Yi was very nice as well. It's the first time I've met him, and I was really pleased because it now means I've met McGann, and the two what I would consider companions in that story. And although there's a lot of mixed feelings about the TV movie, me and you both love it, so I was quite pleased with that.
Good.
William Russell was there.
Before we move on to William Russell, did Yi have any of his stamp-sized books that anyone signing them?
I don't know. Do you know? I don't remember seeing them, but he might have done. Because there were people with books, like Matthew Waterhouse was there, and he had his little books. But I don't remember if Yi did or not, really.
Because he could have fit all of them into his hand luggage on the plane, couldn't he? Let's be honest. I don't know if anyone's seen Yi book, but before it was released, I think, was it Milk Publishing that put it out?
That's it. Yeah,
and on the website, you couldn't really gauge the size of the thing, and it looked quite nice because he'd put a lot of his own photos in there and, all that stuff. And then I remember when you and I were in Forbidden Planet and you were like, yeah, there's Yi book, if you can see it. And I picked it up and I don't know what it is. I mean, it's smaller than A5. It's a tiny little thing.
It is, yeah. It's like a little not postcard book, but it is quite small, yeah. But I don't remember because he had, I assume it's his daughter was sat next to him. This young girl was sat next to him drawing these really cool pictures, actually. So yeah, I don't know. I don't remember seeing any books because I was kind of distracted by her artwork. It was really good. But yeah, he was very nice. It was great to meet him at last. As I said, Matthew Waterhouse was there. Your favourite, Adric, and that all went well, and then it all went wrong because I met him and we had a nice little chat, and I was talking about his his new audios with Peter, and I was like, really like that TARDIS team back together, what I call the crowded TARDIS, and he laughed, and I threw in Dark Eyes just to keep him happy because I know he likes it when people mention that. He signed his picture, and then I said, right, get a picture of you. Absolutely, he says, and he jumps up and we get a picture. But as we get up, I'd noticed that when he pushed the autograph back to me, he'd smudged his name with his thumb. So all the time I stood there on the picture, I was thinking, I'm going to have to ask him to do that again, I think, or whatever. So anyway, yeah, I got him to do it again, but they got me another picture and he just redid it. But on the original one, he'd written Matthew Waterhouse and then Adric underneath, but he didn't write it. He didn't write it the second time, and my OCD was like, no, the one in the picture says Adric, and now the one in my photo won't be the one I've got. And it was all, my OCD was kicking in. And they snatched the other one off me, so I didn't get to keep the one that was smudged.
Of course.
So that was gone. Who else was there? There was loads of people. Yeah, William Russell, such a delight. I can't remember if you've met William.
I have. Yes, that was
such a gentleman, isn't he? He's just so nice. And it's just the way. I mean, I can't do it. It's probably one of those moments when you have to be there. But Adam, ex-Ultimate Whovian, had asked me to get him a photo signed because he was staying at the Chiswick the Westminster event and was going to come later on to the Phantom. So I was like, yeah, I'll get you Williams because we've got the same name. So it's easy for me if I had one autos.
Yeah.
So I said to William, right, those two for me, to Adam, please. And he's like, okay. And we had a little chat. And then I was like, and this is for my friend whose name is Adam. And he's like, 2 Adams. And he did this lovely little chuckle. He's just the sweetest man ever. And he looks incredible. He's like 92 or 93, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want whatever he's on. I want some of it because he looks amazing. He looks so healthy. Yeah. And he's just so nice. I just love William Russell.
He is, isn't he? Such a lovely guy.
He is. Yeah. He really is, mate. And then, just quickly to follow up the rest, Annika Wills was there, who's always lovely. Tony Selby, who plays Glitz, in Dragonfire and in the Trial of a Time Lord. He was there. Now, I was pretty excited to meet Tony because I've never met him before, and I do love the character. And he is one of those actors that back in the day used to pop up in a lot of programs I like Minder, and I don't know if he's in the Sweeney, but, programs like that. So I had a bit of a chat with him about Minder and stuff, and he was, again, a very nice man, but he looked incredibly frail. I was quite shocked when I first saw him, I'll be honest with you. And no disrespect to Tony, it's just that, because I'd never met him before, I was just really shocked when I saw him at his table. He didn't look very well, unfortunately, but he was lovely. It's really great to meet him. And who else is there? Oh, yeah, Wanda Fathom, who is Benedict Cumberbatch's mum, had an absolutely massive queue. And she's been in Doctor Who a few times. She's in The Image of the Fendel, and also she's in my favourite, Time and the Rani. And so I got a picture of her in all her get-up as Varun, I think her name was, and she really was lovely as well. I know I keep saying everyone was lovely. It's just that it's really nice. Everybody was lovely. And one of my friends always jokes because I do always tend to get the annoying miserable. Like very often I'll say, oh, I met so and so and they were miserable, and he's always like, oh, it must be you because But everybody there was lovely. It was such a great day. I just absolutely loved it.
That sounds awesome, mate.
It was, yeah. A lot of people asked. I did vlog it. I did vlog the day. I wasn't sure whether I was going to because of recent events. Like I had one of my convention videos removed from YouTube for a privacy claim. So I wasn't sure whether to vlog it because I'd said it was becoming difficult to film at these events. So I did vlog it. Bizarrely, I've never noticed this before, but there was a great big sign up, and you spotted it behind my Daphne picture, didn't you?
I did.
Saying there is no filming allowed at the Phantom event. And I don't think I've ever noticed them have that up before. And it is such a shame because I would have loved to have got footage of the people that were there because, there were so many great people from Doctor Who there. I was really struggling not to, I was like, oh, but I want to film this. I want to show people this event. But yeah, there was a big sign that telling me I wasn't allowed to film, which I think is a real shame. But I will obviously show the photos and I'll tell you what it was like in there, and I'll still make it a good vlog. But yeah, it is disappointing. It's a shame that we're not allowed to film in these events. But
yeah, and I think that's before I reach for the rant jingle, that's a big subject that we'll probably discuss in a future show. But I did notice that sign, and when you took it, I thought Is this a sly little dig that Adam's got here? Because the sign is very,
Yeah.
very prominent. I thought, is he making a statement here? Is he hoping that the organisers are going to see it? And, you know, and I don't know, but it is a shame that you can't vlog. I mean, we shouldn't really get on this line, otherwise we're going to be on here for a long time talking about this. But like, I totally agree with you. I've like literally 100%. It's just a real shame.
Yeah, I would just love to. I was in there the whole time I was in there, just thinking, normally I'd be filming all of this. I'd be filming Matthew and Daphne and Gigi, and I'd just be filming the lot and then, putting out on my YouTube saying, look at this event, how great it was and stuff. And yeah, it was really hard not to have to sort of rein it in, if you like, because of someone who, who's on YouTube and does vlogging and stuff. It's really difficult. Like, my paranoia was kicking in because obviously I don't know who had my video removed from before. But it was a Phantom event video that was removed. So my my paranoia was like, is that sign aimed at me? Because I've never seen them have a sign up before saying no filming. I'd like to think it was just a coincidence. But on the other hand, it's good to get clarification because, I wouldn't want to do anything I'm not supposed to do in that sense. So if they're telling me there's no filming at the event, then at least it's clear. Whereas at the Westminster one, there was no sign up, so I did a bit of filming, but I was doing it really like nervously, like just little quick shots and not my usual do you know what I mean? There was no clarification, so I was like, am I allowed to film this? I don't know what's going on now. In that sense, it was good to have clarification, but it is a shame, because it was a really good event, and I think I guess it's a privacy thing for the guests, because I just think, I don't know, we've said this before, like if you go to an event, surely they want people to see it, because a lot of people that saw the Phantom video that was taken down were like, oh, I've never heard of Phantom. This event looks amazing. What, the autographs are only like £5-10 and you're allowed photos at the table. Wow, this looks like a brilliant event and all that sort of thing. So in that sense, to me, it seems like a good thing. But I guess they're looking at it from the point of view of their guests may not want to be filmed or whatever. So, yeah, two sides to every coin and all that.
Yes, I read you. We've had this many a time, haven't we, with my adventures at the Who shop in London.
Yes.
Where photography is forbidden and all that. And it's weird because it's free advertising for the event, and it does switch a lot of people on. I mean, if you hadn't heard of the Phantom events in Chiswick before and, people stumble across your video, they're like, oh, sweet, I'll book a ticket for the next one. That's free for them. That's like a person booking a ticket that wouldn't have booked it before.
Yeah, in fact, that happened actually. A guy called Darren, who I've never met, but he, we chat on the Geeks Handbag sometimes, and he's like, loved your video, mate, and never heard of that event, but I've booked a ticket to the March one. I'll see you there. I was like, yeah, it's excellent, and all that. So, point proven. But yeah, I guess there's reasons, but it is a shame, and as I said, so frustrating for me because I just was itching to get my camera out the whole time and film. I probably would have asked Daphne to do a little piece to camera or something, but yeah, it wasn't to be. But never mind, don't worry, I shall still cobble something together and it'll still be fun. But you just won't be able to come inside with me into the event. The recording forbidden and all that stuff aside, the Phantom events are very good. And I think the next one is at the end of April. I think the next one, I don't think any guests have been announced yet, but they haven't. And this will sound awful, but I'm kind of hoping they don't announce anyone very good because I'm away. I was like, oh no, the next event, I'm actually away. I can't go to the next one. So yeah, I hope for other people they have good events, guests, but for me, I'm kind of hoping they don't because I'll be really gutted if they add like someone who I want to meet, but nothing I can do about it. So yeah,
Paul McGann will be there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it'll be the big one. But no, they are good events, and as I say, I like the fact that they. I think it says in the email. I'm pretty sure it does. They're very clear that. What you can and can't do in terms of like they do generally allow photos at the table. And there's no charge for that. So if you buy an autograph, you're usually allowed to get a photo at the table with the guests for free. Hopefully that won't change because, I mean, it seems to be becoming quite the norm now to charge for selfies. And I think they're possibly the only event I can think of, that I go to. I'm sure there's others that don't. Like Westminster didn't used to charge for selfies and now they're charging £10. So I just hope Phantom don't go down that route because it does make them that little bit... extra special in my eyes. It's like they still feel like a nice fan run event in terms of that. So I hope they don't go down the sort of 10th Planet Westminster route of charging for every little thing. Somebody did comment on my Facebook page as well about next they'll be charging for the air that the actor breathes while you're in their space. Like he did, £10 to breathe in Peter Davison's air the next time you're there, and it is starting to feel like that. Some events, it's just anything they can think of, they're going to charge for it, and it does suck the blood out of it a bit. I think, I understand they've got to make money and everything, but yeah, it is becoming a little bit OTT. I think at some events, it is a little bit. It's a juggling act for the organisers because, the fee that the actors charge to be there, they have to get that back. Plus, they need to make a little bit more. They can't just run it at a loss the whole time. Otherwise, because I know it's run by people that love Who and by fans and all the rest of it, and they're not doing it as a huge sort of money spinner. I understand that they do need to make a little bit of profit from it, but it is getting a little bit silly. I mean, imagine if they did that at a really big event like one of the Showmasters, London Comic Cons or MCM or anything, where there's thousands of people there. How are they? They wouldn't be able to police that. So. That'd be interesting if they started putting signs up saying no videos, and that'd just be, Well, mind you, having said that, I think with the last year's London Film Comic Con, it didn't seem to be a problem filming the majority of it, but I did have a couple of problems with them. Like with Michelle Gomez, the security guard came out of nowhere. I couldn't get anywhere near her to take a picture or film or anything. He's like, no, there's no photography at all here. He was just pushing me. I couldn't get near her. Do you know what I mean? It was like I was literally just going to stand at the side just to get a clip of her signing, and they were having none of it. So it's even that, there are the instances where it is difficult. That's what I was saying before. It's becoming really difficult to film anything at some of these events. But in terms of filming, who's there and all the cosplayers and everything else, there's no problem. But I don't know, it can be difficult for some of the guests, I think. Indeedy. Yeah. But the next Phantom event, end of April. Tickets are a tenner, but no guests announced just yet. Yeah, look, I am looking forward to seeing the Gatch. I always like to keep an eye on it, just in case. Yeah, because I know you were gutted. You really you couldn't make this weekend. Oh, no. Just gone, and you were gutted because you really wanted to meet Peter, didn't you? I did. Yep, that was really gutting because I haven't met him yet, and he seldom does any of the London ones. You can catch him at a few cons, maybe down on the south coast. He does those ones, down in Brighton and Bournemouth and those ones. He likes those, and maybe a couple up north, but he tends to shy away from anything in London. So that had been a great opportunity to meet him, but alas, I'll have to catch him at the next one. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but his table and Tom's table were at completely opposite ends of the room. That's not surprising. And poor old Colin was just in the middle. It was like they'd put Tom at one end, Colin in the middle, and Peter right at the other end. Behind a barrier, so you can. I don't know if anyone that's read Peter Davison's book that came out, I think it was the end of last year, or if you've got to that bit in the book yet, mate. Anyone that's read it will not be surprised by that. Yeah, I still haven't got to much of the Tom Baker stuff in his book yet, but I'm thinking it can't be. I mean, I don't know if you've ever read Matthew Waterhouse's Blue Box Boy book. No, which is well worth the read. It's a really interesting read, actually, but man, does he slay poor old Tom. From what I remember, anyway, it was quite a while ago I read it, but I remember thinking, oh, Matthew, you're really getting this off your chest now, aren't you? Obviously, you could sort of almost feel it'd been, this, building up over the years. He was just saying how Tom used to tell him to basically pee off on set. It's like, get out of it, then kick him around. Not kick him, but he doesn't. He was quite shocked, I think, by Tom back in the day. Yeah. But Matthew's book's weird because he talks about himself in the third person. It's really odd. Like when you're reading it, he's like, Matthew walked in the room and saw Lala Ward at the TARDIS console. And Matthew thought, and I'm thinking, no, you are Matthew. Why are you talking in the thing? It's really strange, but it's well worth the read, mate. Yeah, well worth the read. Maybe Adric's writing the book from Matthew Waterhouse's perspective about Matthew playing Adric. Yeah, maybe it's weird. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's why he didn't sign Adric on the second autograph, because Adric told him, no, you've done it. You've given him one. He's had one chance. Don't do it again. Yeah, he's in like an infinite loop of Adric playing Matthew, playing Adric, etc., etc. An infinite loop. I've got visions of him actually still trapped in that weird what's that thing the Master puts him in in Castrovelva, that weird spider's web with the Master keeps going up on that raised platform for no reason. Yeah, I've got visions of perhaps he's still trapped in that, and actually it's it's all just an infinite time loop.
Adric.
Yeah, but anyway, just to sum up, good event, mate. It was very good weekend.
Good stuff.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Great.
Yeah. So I did miss you though. I did miss you, mate.
Sure, you did. Sure.
Yeah, no, sure. I really did. When I was chatting to Daphne and saying, did she remember being on the podcast? And of course she did. I mean, who could forget? She did ask where you were. She said, "Where's Gary?" And I was like, "Oh, he can't be here. Unfortunately, he's locked in a cupboard under my stairs because I want you all to myself." No, I did. She did ask after you, and it would have been good to have had you there. But you were busy, weren't you, doing your thing?
Yeah, I was doing grown-up married stuff. Yeah. So the wife and I decided to head up to Scotland because I'd never been up to Scotland before, and she's been up there a couple of times with work, and she said, "Yeah, we should have a trip up there." So I sort of spontaneously said, "Yep, that's booked then." So sleazy jet up to Edinburgh, and we was up there for the weekend, which is very nice, really good. And I did go into the Forbidden Planet in Edinburgh.
Oh, did you?
It was one of the Forbidden Planet Internationals.
Oh yeah.
I was quite impressed with that one. The one I went to in where was it? In Cardiff. I wasn't too enamoured by that one.
No, I must admit I wasn't either. I was just thinking that when you said it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't amazing, that one, but this one wasn't too bad actually. It was a fair size, and the two guys that were working there, they were very, very chatty and friendly, and they had a reasonable Who section in there as well.
Okay.
Which was good, because the one in Cardiff, it's just, I cannot conceive as to why, the Forbidden Planet in Cardiff, pretty much the home of Doctor Who since 2005, doesn't shout about it a bit more, because the one in Cardiff, the Who section is buried up in the corner upstairs somewhere. There's not really much going on, but in this one it was pretty good. They had a reasonably sized one. It was about the same size as the one in the other Forbidden Planet brand, so their mega store in London on Tottenham Court Road. Theirs was about the same size as those guys.
Really? That's huge.
Yeah, so it was pretty good. They had loads of Pop Funkos there, loads of figures. And so it was good. I mean, I didn't end up buying anything, but it was good to have the missus picked up a couple of Pop Funkos, but it was good to have a look around and chat to the guys working in there. Yeah. So that was good. Ask them about some of the Doctor Who graphic novels, because that was one thing they were short on. I said, "Have you guys got any of the Titan trade paperbacks and the graphic novels?" And he said, "You know what, surprisingly, we don't get many people ask for those." He said, "We have a lot of people ask for the single issues." So when Titan are putting out is it weekly or fortnightly? I can't remember.
Fortnightly, I think, yeah.
He said they normally go relatively quick, and we get a lot of people asking for those, I think. And he said when they first launched, we had loads of people asking about the variant covers and all that stuff. He said,
the variants, yeah.
But he said the graphic novels, no, he said we don't really bring many of them in because hardly anyone asks for those. So it must be that so many people are buying the single issues, which is good. They're not really doubling up on the graphic novels. So
possibly, yeah. I mean, I do buy the single issues, but when you work it out, how much you spend on the single issues, like the graphic novels are so much better value. Because I always think to myself, if I had any sort of restraint, I would just wait for the graphic novel, because it's like they're normally about £10 to £12, I think. Yeah. Whereas the single issue is about £3 roughly. It's like £3.25 an issue. So you add it up and you're thinking, well, actually, I've just spent 25 quid or whatever on all those when I could have just bought the graphic novel for a tenner. But yeah, they're probably people like me. They've just got they don't want to wait. They have to have the issue when it comes out, which is fair enough. But yeah, it's a lot better value to get the graphic novel.
Yeah, well, we're quite lucky here for us, because we get sent all the issues from Titan as a PDF, don't we? But it's not really the same as actually buying.
No, I'm definitely a physical copy person. Yeah.
So I was after a couple of the graphic novels, but they didn't really have them there. But yeah, it was a good weekend. But I was thinking of you, mate. I was thinking, I bet at this time he's having a good old chinwag with Peter, and the two of them are like clanking their mugs of tea together and thinking, if only Gary was here.
Yeah. Well, I was in good company. I met her with Addy Hoovian and a load of other people, Will and all the usual gang. It was good. But yes, it would have been good if you'd have been there, mate. Obviously. Yeah.
Obviously, it would have been much better if I was there.
Yeah, I think you would have loved meeting Peter. There is just something about Peter. I don't know. He's still got this sort of slightly cheeky chappiness about him, hasn't he? He's still got that sort of young aura about him. I don't know what it is. But yeah. Just very quickly, actually, before I finish off, I forgot to say as well, one really nice thing that really capped off the event was that when everyone got their autographs, Daphne and Yiji posed together for anyone who worked photos with the two of them, which is something I've always wanted. Like, when
cool.
I mean, there was no official photographer there. It's just for you to get a picture on your phone. But it was a real nice way to it, because they did tell us, they said, anybody who wants to wait right to the end of the event, once everyone's got their autographs, we'll just do photos together. And that was, a really nice way to cap off the event. The only thing was, they had these, the TV movie must be being released in Germany or somewhere, because they had these McGann posters up, but it said deaf film or something. I don't know. It's all in a foreign language, so it must be getting a release somewhere.
It probably. Yeah.
In fact, I think I saw somebody post pictures of it, because it's sort of in a book format and it looked rather nice, but it was obviously all in a foreign language. Because I remember thinking, ooh, what's that then? So they had these nice posters up, which they initially stood in front of, and I was like, oh, this is excellent. A picture with those two with that poster, amazing. So my friend Paul goes and gets his picture, and then suddenly, and he's the first one in the line, right? So he gets his picture, and I'm like, oh, wow. There's only a handful of us waiting to get a photo. This is amazing. And then suddenly the Phantom guy, one of the guys who organised it, is like, wait, stop. And he drags over this big Phantom sign and puts it in front of the posters. And it's like, no, we need to have Phantom. And I was like, no, I want the movie poster. Get that blimmin'. Oh, I thought he was joking at first as well. But no, of course, he wanted the Phantom logo, understandandly, because he's the event. But I was gutted, and my mate Paul was so smug. He's like, oh, my lovely picture in front of the movie poster. Which I was like, yeah. But that was a lovely moment just to be with those two, just to get that picture. So yeah, very good, mate. Anyway, I shall stop waffling on about it now.
You've had enough gloatage, have you?
Yeah. I've gloated enough. Yes. Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever.
We should stop waffling now. We should rattle through some news, I suppose.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit.
Yeah. First up, you remember last year, I think it was last year or the year before, when the Beeb released a sort of online learning game where it was like the Doctor in an adventure against the Daleks or the Cybermen or both or something like that.
Yeah, vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, and it was about essentially teaching sort of younger kids how to code. Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that game.
I do, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, well, they've done something similar that went out this week, actually, and it's called Doctor Who and the Microbit, which is very cool. So essentially, it was a live, I think it was an hour to 2 hours, something like that. It was a live lesson that you could go onto the website and follow along and all that stuff. And it was, just this really cool educational lesson. So I think it was aimed at kids around sort of 12 years old, sort of maybe 10 up to sort of 13 years old.
Yeah.
And it was really there to sort of get their head into like a way of thinking around sort of how sort of coding works and algorithms and all that clever stuff. And but I thought it was really cool how they tied it in with, because anything that you can, I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, but anything sort of within education that you can tie into something that's in sort of pop culture and, make it fun, it generally sort of has a better impact and a higher sort of success rate. So I love it when the Beeb does stuff like this. And I've yet to watch a video because I was working when it went out live. But they are going to put it out on BBC iPlayer and on the website that it went up to. But I've seen a few tweets of people that were watching it and so on. And a couple of people said, what the heck is this? What am I watching? But there was quite a few people that said, this is amazing. This is really good. So it was called The Time Lord, the TARDIS and the Microbit. And it was, essentially you logged on your computer and it went through like a bunch of stuff for you to follow along. And it was just part of BBC's live lessons program. So I'll put a link in the show notes to the website where they're going to put the video up. But they did say it might be a day or two because I need to edit it and make sure it's it's okay to rewatch. So you understand that it's not going out live. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that it's going out on BBC iPlayer as well. So if you're sort of that age group, or even if you're not, and you want to sort of get a level of understanding about, how coding works and algorithms and stuff, this would be excellent.
It's a nice idea, isn't it? It's a really nice idea.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I love anything interactive like that. I saw this thing about a live video going out and I was really unsure what it was because it seemed to sort of pop up out of nowhere, didn't it, this bit of news? And I was like, what's this live Doctor Who episode that's going out? It all got a bit confusing at one point. But it's a nice idea, this. Yeah.
And so just to finish with this, so the microbit part of it, so that's like the series, if you like. So it's called the BBC Microbit. It's a tiny computer processor that's like the thing that they're sort of advertising it as, and it's designed to use to teach coding to children, sort of in a classroom environment or online. And you can download some extra like materials to go with it, and there's a teaching guide and all that stuff. So I love this sort of thing. And if they can tie it into Who and get kids interested, then that's really good. So we'll tweet out or whatever when it goes on iPlayer. But you'll be able to catch it soon if you missed it.
Excellent, mate. Okay. In other news, and this is something quite incredible actually. Comic Relief this year is offering the opportunity to have a full English breakfast in the company of 7 doctors.
Crikey, Moses.
So I mean, when I just think this is amazing. What I would give to be at this event. I think there's a couple of places. So I think some people you can either bid on it, or most of us will be just putting our name because they're going to do like a raffle, aren't they? And then
you can purchase tickets.
Yeah. So the doctors that are attending, it's going to be at the Wolseley on Piccadilly. I must say I've not heard of that, but I imagine it's quite a big place. And I imagine loads of fans are going to descend on that restaurant in the morning because if you do manage to be lucky enough to win a place at this full English breakfast, you will be in the company of Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, David Tennant, Matt Smith, and Peter Capaldi, all around your dinner table, your breakfast table. I mean, that is just going to be mind blowing, isn't it? I would just wow. To be able to go to this would be just amazing. Because imagine the conversation around that table.
I can't even. My brain just can't compute.
No.
at just how amazing. Because if you think about the amount of actors there, so all like 7 doctors.
Yeah.
That's just unprecedented. Even at like
I don't think I'd be able to talk. I think I'd just be like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I mean, even
just turn to jelly.
Yeah. Even if you think about the biggest Comic-Cons, like the San Diego one and some of the big London ones and so on.
Yeah.
You would never get half of those actors together at any one time ever. So this is it. I would say that this literally is a once in a lifetime.
Oh, definitely.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fantastic that the actors have given their time, and the fact they've all said, look, we'll arrange a date when we can all be there. Because let's face it, they're all pretty busy guys, aren't they? The fact that they're doing this is just incredible, I think. If you want to be in a chance to be at this meal, by the way, basically what you do is your £5 enters you into the pot for a chance to win. And it's going to be it's going to take place somewhere between September 2017 and May 2018. And Comic Relief are obviously going to give the winner as much notice as possible of the actual date. So they're giving themselves a bit of a time window there, obviously to try and arrange when all these actors can be in this one place at one time. But yeah, I mean, for £5, it's got to be worth a punt, isn't it?
I tell you, mate, for a £5, it's a no-brainer.
It is.
How can you put a value on hanging out with 7? It's just, I'm speechless about this. It's amazing. If you head over to, we'll put a link in the show notes, but this is all run through a website called Givergy, as in Givergy, Givergy. If you head over to givergy.com and just do a search for Red Nose Day, you will see this event come up. And as Adam said, you can, for a £5, that gives you 1 ticket. You can purchase 3 tickets for, surprisingly, £15, or you can buy 5 tickets for £25. See, there's 3 brackets that you can cough up your dough. So obviously, as an offshoot, this is a good thing because all the money from the ticket sales goes to Comic Relief and all that. So it is for charity. This isn't just somebody's thought, let me make loads of money by, raffling off, a raffle for tickets. It's for Comic Relief. So it's a good cause as well.
It is a good cause.
But yeah, I mean, for a £5, if that puts you in the run into, oh my God, it's just, what would you do? So
yeah, but imagine if one of us got it though, the other one's going to be so jealous, aren't they? Imagine if it was you, I'd just be at the window with my hands against it the whole time, just staring at you through the window. Make sure I wore all my rags as well. Just look really oh wow, it would just be incredible. I think isn't there a ticket that people can bid for as well? Isn't there another because I saw it was already up to so many thousands of pounds or something. I think a ticket's being auctioned for Comic Relief, obviously, as well. There is. Yeah. I don't know what the current, what it's up to at the moment, but I know it's quite a few thousand.
Oh yeah, I don't even want to look at that.
So somebody is already in the running to be there, which is incredible. So, yeah.
But what would you say though? How intimidating would that be? If all of them were in the room and then you were led in?
I'd just melt.
Where would you start as well? Where would you start?
Yeah.
It's just,
And also, what are they going to be like? Because I can't imagine that group of doctors have all been in one room together before. Like some of them, like Colin and Pete obviously know each other. And then I guess Matt's met them at the 50th. But, to have them all in that one room, I think they're going to be quite, not intimidated, but they'll be sort of thinking, until maybe they get a drink with it, and then maybe it'll sort of relax and loosen up. But they'll feel quite intimidated, I think, as well.
I would say that the one actor out of all that lot would be Peter, because if you Peter Capaldi, I mean, because if you think about it, so Peter and Colin and Sylvester, they will know each other pretty well. Sylvester and Paul, David and Matt, they'll obviously know each other very well from the 50th. David Tennant and Peter Davison obviously know each other very well, being father-in-law and son-in-law. Whereas Peter, he's at the other end.
That's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Poor Peter.
Yeah.
So maybe if you do win it, Gary, make sure you sit next to Peter and just give him a pat on the shoulder and say, "It's all right, mate."
Yeah, I might start some Chinese whispers going. I'll be like, I heard earlier, Peter, that Cyril thinks you're a bit of an idiot. And then I'll go and sit next to David Tennant and be like, big fan and everything, but I wouldn't go and talk to Colin for a little while, mate.
And be like, go over to Peter Davison and be like, so I've my +1 is Tom Baker, and I'll be bringing him over to say hi later.
Yeah, do you like the scarf, Peter?
Oh, no.
I know you love the scarf.
Don't wear the scarf, whatever you do. Because Peter hates the scarf. He doesn't like fans. If he sees fans in the Tom Baker scarf, his eyes go red.
I would imagine that if I was one of the doctors there, I would have so much fun winding up any fans that were there, because I would say, so, who's your favourite?
I know, it'd have to be the first question, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that's
I bet Colin will say that. Colin will be like, no lists. We don't want any lists. Before you know it, there'll be hash browns flying up the wall and tables overturned. And don't start doing lists, whatever you do.
Yeah. What an event, though. So, yeah, we'll put a link to that. And if any of our listeners win it, please unsubscribe from the show. Because
don't be like that.
the jealousy and resentment will just be too much. Yeah.
Like I say, I bet you loads of people, once they find out when it is, that restaurant's going to be swamped in it with
yes,
autograph hunters and fans and dealers, and God, you probably won't even be able to get in the door, I shouldn't imagine.
No.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
More news. So our lucky listeners down under are going to get a very cool tie-in show that will run alongside the new series when that kicks off, Series 10. So the Australian channel ABC have announced that a new half-hour panel show to tie in with Series 10 called Whovians will go out on a Sunday evening. All controversial, yeah. It will go out on a Sunday evening starting the 16th of April at 8:30 on ABC2/iView, which goes out straight after the episode has broadcast on ABC.
This sounds familiar.
So this is very, very good, and I'm extremely jealous because, again, we don't. That sounds familiar. Yeah, we don't have anything like this in the UK.
Well, we used to. We used to have good old Confidential, didn't we? But
I was going to say we did have many moons ago. We had Confidential, which was so good. So our friend down under, Sammy Satine, she let us know this news on Facebook the other day, actually, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, thanks, Sammy.
That's awesome. But so ABC have now officially said this show called Whovians. And it's a panel show. So essentially it's one guy, this guy called Rove McManus. He's going to be sort of hosting it, but they're going to have guests on and people talking about the episode that's just gone out and other stuff to do with Who. And I'll tell you what, mate, it reminds me a lot of when I was in Canada a couple of years ago. Remember I told you that I had a bit of a Doctor Who marathon in the hotel room? Yeah. Because they have a channel over there called Space. And they did a Doctor Who marathon all the way from 2005. They did it. They ran it for like 4 or 5 days or something. So they started at Rose in 2005 and it went all the way up, finishing with the brand new Christmas special at the time, the one with Nick Frost as Santa.
Oh yeah, last Christmas, yeah.
And they did a very similar thing. So in between every episode, they had it wasn't as long as this, they had like a 10-15 minute panel show where they discussed what happened in the previous episode that just aired and all that stuff. And I'll tell you what, it's really cool just to have that extra bit of Who, after the episode. And it almost makes me think, do you know what, mate? You and I should host a UK version online or something.
Oh, that would be really cool.
So we'll call it something. We'll do a Google Hangout show. We'll invite everyone.
Yeah, just to chat it through.
Yeah. So this is really cool for our Oz friends down under. So so it won't go out on ABC. That the actual show gets broadcast. This goes out on ABC2 and iView, which I think is their equivalent to BBC iPlayer.
So are we going to be able to get it in any way over here? Are we going to be able to find this somewhere or not, do you think? Can Sammy record it on a VHS and send it over to us?
I was going to say, just record them all and then send over a box of videotapes. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's always a way, isn't it?
There must be a way.
Yeah.
Because I would be intrigued to see it, just to see what it's like. Yeah. I guess like when we lost Confidential, they kind of did, like the fan show did a little behind the scenes after each episode, didn't they? But that was just on YouTube, I suppose, wasn't it? Wasn't really. It was like an unofficial, but BBC Doctor Who page shared it.
That's right.
I think, wasn't it? So yeah, it is nice just to have that that little bit of interaction and a little bit of chat and discussion after each episode. I think it's always quite interesting, and no doubt it'll have a few behind the little scenes bits and stuff like that, I assume.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sounds
intriguing.
Good. Yeah, just a wee bit more info. So as well as unpacking the most recent episode, Rove and the team will open the doors of the TARDIS and go back through the annals of time to lovingly analyse, critique and unravel the mysteries of this much-loved, globally renowned series. It says Rove is a long-time Doctor Who enthusiast and will be joined by other self-confessed Doctor Who superfans, Tegan Higginbotham, Adam Richard and Steve Bajo O'Donnell, as well as a roster of celebrity guests.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sounds good.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, well, we might be lucky. We look forward to the VHSs coming over, Sammy.
Yes, can you please
start all recorded on?
Saving up for the shipping, please?
Right. And lastly in the news, for any budding writers out there, Pencil Tip Publishing are going to be accepting completed stories for inclusion in the Temporal Logbook 2. And this is going to be for 1 day and 1 day only. So if you want to get your submissions in, make sure you do. And that day is Saturday, May the 6th, 2017, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. And basically, so they released, obviously, the Temporal Logbook 1, and this is the follow-up volume. And they're looking for stories featuring the 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, and 10th Doctor. So it's quite specific. So no first Doctor. Why is that?
That is weird, isn't it? And no 11 and 12
They
either.
missed them off. No, could be. Don't know. I was going to say a copyright thing, but no, probably not. Don't know. Maybe they just decided it would be
No Sylv either. Yeah.
no Sylv. Yeah, that'd be so. You could discuss that when you go for their meal with them. Say, do you know they missed you out, Sylv?
Yeah. It was
just
Colin's
stir the
fault.
pot.
Can't have a word.
Yeah. Colin said, don't. Stories should be between 5,000 and 8,000 words. And basically, all you have to do is submit your story, provide your full name, and include a brief bit just saying about yourself and if you've been published before. So if you a lot of our listeners I know do like to do their little fan adventures and very much into writing their own stories and producing their own stories as well. So if you want to do that, I assume Gary will put a link in the description,
of course,
to Pencil Tip Publishing, which I really like that name as well. Pencil Tip Publishing rolls off the tongue, and you could be included in the second volume of the Temporal Logbook.
Yeah, we mentioned this a couple of months back or a few months ago.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we did.
We did. Yeah,
just telling people that it was coming up. So hopefully you've got your story planned out. You know what's going on. Now you just need to flesh out the details, get the character work done, finish it up. And then on that, remember, they're only doing it for that 1 day.
Yeah.
So that's important. So on 6th of May, you have to fire off your email over and they'll only accept them for that day. Indeedy.
Sounds good.
That's going to do for news. Shall we get the Dalek in and... hold on! Crikey. Shall we get him in and see what he's got?
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Give me that.
He's been a bit cheeky this morning, isn't he, that Dalek?
It is. Stupid
trying to keep all the merch to himself.
No.
Go and play with your plates with your swirling TARDIS pattern on.
I'm not going to tell you what he's doing with his plunger arm right now. I said later. Stupid. Right. First bit of merch up. So have you heard of this before? Nerd Block. Have you heard of this?
I have. Yes, I have heard of it. Yeah.
Nerd Block.
Nerd Block. Yeah. Never bought one, but I have heard of it.
Yeah. I'm sure this is an American thing originally, right? They are shipping
I think
to
so. Yeah.
So Nerd Block is for if you've been into things like, what's the one that really kicked off that's really popular that's been going for a couple of years?
Oh,
what's it called?
Oh, do you know? I watch it all the time. Ashens is always unboxing them, and what are they called?
You know when you get
it'll come to me when I'm trying not to think of it. It'll come to me.
It'll come. Yeah, it will come. So it's basically a like a box full of like geek goodness is the best way to describe these things.
Yeah.
The other one's called Geek something.
Well, they're like, Zavvi started doing them as well, didn't they? Like the Zavvi box.
Oh,
and,
the geek, yeah.
And all that sort of stuff. And
yes. So anyway, this company, Nerd Block, is that right?
Yeah, Nerd
Block, yeah. They have teamed up with the BBC and they have now licensed a proper official Doctor Who block, which will go out. I think it's bi-monthly. I think I read somewhere. So it's not every month like some of them are. So what's the other one? Hold on. Loot Crate.
Loot Crate is, yeah.
That was the one I'm thinking of, yeah. So if you guys are familiar with that concept of Loot Crate and some of the other ones, this is essentially the same thing. However, because normally what they do is each month they'll pick a theme, won't they? These companies, and they'll say, we're going to do Marvel or we're going to do Star Wars, whatever. Or we're going to do a mixture. You're going to get some anime stuff. You're going to get a T-shirt about Hulk. And, you're going to get a postcard from Ming the Merciless, or whatever it is. So this one is, yes, it is. It's bi-monthly. And you will get a box full of Doctor Who stuff, essentially. And from my experience, I've got a couple of these before. I had a loot crate, or a couple of them, very early on when Loot Crate first started. I've had a couple of the Zavi boxes as well.
Yeah.
Not the Doctor Who one. I know you got the Zavi Doctor Who one. You weren't that impressed with it, but I've got...
Very unimpressed.
Yeah, I had a couple of the Zavi ones. So generally speaking, what happens is they just throw in a bunch of tat.
And a T-shirt.
And depending on how much the block, stroke, crate, stroke, box is, and how large it is, will generally depend on the quality of the tat inside. Now, this one is $50. And that does include shipping, which is good, because normally it's like $50, but it's normally like $55, $60, whatever, with shipping. But this includes shipping, which is good. And it's, I don't know, how much is that in pounds? It's probably about £40.
Yeah, knowing the pound rate at the minute, yeah.
Something like that, about 40 British pounds. And hold on, where do they ship to? Yeah, so they at the moment, they only ship to within the US, Canada, and the UK. So that's important to bear that in mind. We don't know anything at the moment about what's going to be in the first official Doctor Who block. Nothing at all. But generally speaking, going on experience, you normally get a T-shirt, you get a Pop Funko,
a lanyard,
you get a couple of comics, you get another vinyl toy of some description, you get maybe a coaster, a box of mints, a couple of badges, some stickers, that kind of thing. I'm just going on experience. It's normally that kind of merchandise that they throw in, because the boxes aren't huge. They're not like a big, it's not like you've ordered a snooker table size box and you've got like, a full size model TARDIS in it or anything like that. So I'm not sure. £40, and the
it's
price.
Not too bad if it includes shipping.
Yeah, and the more blocks you buy, the cheaper it is. So if you buy just one block on its own, that's $50. If you buy 3 blocks, that goes down to $47.99. If you buy 6 blocks, that's $45. So you do save a couple of dollars the more you buy. So remember, it's bi-monthly. So, if you buy one block individually every 2 months, that will cost you $50. If you buy a block of 6, which will last you a year, that's $45. So I'm not sure on this one.
Can you just buy one though? Because this is the thing that confuses me in their block. You have to sort of subscribe, don't you? Initially, and I think you can unsubscribe, obviously, but I don't think you can just buy the one box. And I might be wrong saying that, but I think Nerdblock you have to initially sign up to subscribe.
That's right.
And then you can cancel it. Whereas with the Zavi ones, you can just buy like the one box and stuff. And if anyone's sort of thinking, well, why would you, if it's a load of tat, why would you buy it? The thing is, you don't know what's in there, so you sort of take a punt. You're basically buying a blind box of goodies, I suppose is the best way to put it. You don't know what's in there till you get it. The box itself, if that's how it comes, looks really nice. It's kind of got the TARDIS sort of print all over it, which looks pretty decent, actually.
It does.
Quite like the look of the box. But yeah, it's just knowing what's inside. I mean, I was hugely disappointed in the Zavi one because it was just a load of rubbish. Supposed to be a load of exclusive stuff, and it was like those TARDIS mints, which Forbidden Planet have had in stock for about 20 years, and they got hundreds of them, hardly exclusive. But sometimes it can be good. I think last time Nerdblock had an exclusive large Titan of the 10th Doctor, because I got him off of eBay in the end. Because a lot of people just buy them and then sell the bits they don't want, and so he was quite good. Can't remember what was different about him, but it was like an exclusive one you could only get in that box. So yeah, sometimes you get exclusive little bits like that. Other times you'll just get like I think in the Zavi one you got the TARDIS, materializing TARDIS, which you could pick up in Forbidden Planet. So that was a bit disappointing because it wasn't anything different. It's a bit of a gamble. But yeah, I don't know, 40 quid including shipping, or 40 odd quid, whatever it works out at. Not too bad. And yeah, going by what they've done in the past, possibly better than some of the other blind boxes out there, so could be worth a punt. Yeah.
And I think what makes this one slightly different from the other one, so when Zavi did their box that was supposedly full of exclusive amazingness turned out to be completely rubbish. This one, what Zavi did was they said, right, we're just going to pick off the shelf all the Doctor Who stock that we've got at the moment, and sort of badge it up as an exclusive thing. Whereas these guys, they have actually teamed up with the BBC. So they have it is the officially licensed geek, nerd, crate, block, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And it does say in sort of the information about it, it does say that every other month you'll get a brand new assortment of hand-curated timey-wimey exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. Okay. So they do actually state that you won't, the stuff inside it isn't something that you would just see on the shelf in Forbidden Planet, which is good. And just to clarify the payment for this then, so where it says like one block bi-monthly is $49, that means that every 2 months they will charge you $49 and it will just roll like that.
Until you stop it.
Yeah. If you wanted to pay for 3 blocks at a time, then you have to pay for that as a big one-off payment. So you have to pay $140 odd, and that will get you 6 months worth of stuff because it's 3 blocks every other month. Or if you wanted to pay for a whole year and buy 6 blocks, you have to pay $275 as a one-time payment. So it works out cheaper because you're not paying as much per block. However, you have got that big initial outlay to pay, or you can just pay for it every other month.
And just one thing I'm a bit unclear on. So is it just one, is it just one box that's going to be Doctor Who and then the next month something else like Star Wars? Or is it that they're doing a whole series of Doctor Who?
No, this is just the Doctor Who. So every other month it will be a Doctor Who box.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a bit interesting. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so it's called the Doctor Who official block, and it's the official licensed BBC Doctor Who subscription service. So it's not just a one-off and then next. So it's not like you buy it this month and then in 2 months it's DC. The next one's Star Wars. This is just Doctor Who.
Okay.
So it might be worth a go.
Yeah. We'll wait and see. I normally scan YouTube to find a video of someone opening it, see if it's worth getting once it's released. So I might wait and do that.
Yeah. Anyways, that'll do for. Is that merch done? No,
there's one last bit. Yeah, our dial. It's got a couple of posters, and a mug. I do love a mug.
We do.
So for those of you that liked the new promo picture that we got the other week, which is basically Pearl hanging outside the TARDIS with the Doctor hanging onto her and Nardole looking terrified in the background. It's a nice shot actually. I don't know who did the artwork, but GB Posters. They've done like a framed print of it. Or just the poster itself if you want it, and also a mug which features the image wrapped around it, which I think looks really nice actually. Quite tempted with the mug. So if you like that image and you feel like you want it on your wall or in your ceramic collection, then go over to gbposters.com. And they got one there, not bad price. The framed one is $16.99. The poster itself is $4.99, and the mug is $7.99. So price-wise, pretty decent. I'm assuming there'll be a little bit of shipping included in there or postage included, whatever. But it does make for quite a nice poster, that one actually. Yeah. I haven't got a wall to put it on, but I might get the mug.
It does actually look. I think we said this last week when we went through the trailer and so on. I really, really like that image that they've used as the promo for Series 10.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah,
I know it's a little bit. You can tell that Bill isn't actually floating. She's just standing on the floor and they've angled her around a little bit. But I think it does look really, really cool.
Yeah, no, it's a nice image. Yeah. I thought it'd be the bit inside the TARDIS that irked you because they've got the sizing wrong. If you zoom in on the console behind Peter and Nardole, if you look at that, they haven't quite got that right, but it doesn't matter because it still looks good. But if you want to be picky, there's a couple of bits they could have done better, but it's a nice poster. Let's put it that way. So It's a nice promo shot. Yeah. So if you want that, head over to gbposters.com.
GB
give them your dosh.
gbposters.com. We'll put a link in there as well for that stuff. And that is going to do for merch.
That's it.
Indeedy. Right. Adam, a good fellow.
Yes.
On to our review. What are we doing this week, mate?
Let's jump on the fast lane because this week it's the 10th Doctor adventure, Gridlock.
And we're slap bang in the middle of New York.
He has arrived. Find him before it's too late.
You've got to let her go!
I need to talk to the police. The doctor. Where is he?
Very well dressed for a hitchhiker.
People go missing on the motorway. Some cars just vanish, never to be seen again, because there's something living down there.
What the hell are they?
Help us! Oh my God, I'm begging you, please, help us!
The weather is at 36 degrees, and it's blue skies all the way home. This is Sally Calypso signing off. Missing you already.
Missing you already. Gridlock. Was first broadcast in April 2007. It was written by RTD and directed by Richard Clarke. Yeah. And story, very briefly, is thus: the Doctor and Martha Jones arrive at the very strange-looking city, New York, on the planet New Earth, where everything seems very desolate and strange. And Martha gets kidnapped pretty early on. Doctor chases, and as the Doctor is giving chase, he stumbles across a monumental traffic jam of all these floating trucks and vans and stuff. And I will say it pales in comparison to some of the commutes on the M1 in the morning. And so the Doctor chases, jumps inside a few of the vans, has a good old chat with a couple of people, and slowly realizes that the planet is just one huge traffic jam. It's not until he escapes, goes up into the tower, finds out that the population on the surface of the planet has been wiped out. I was going to say destroyed then, that's a bit heavy. Has been wiped out by a virus, and the remaining population have effectively been contained in an underground traffic jam, thus saving their lives, albeit a bit miserable. And the Doctor does, of course, saves the day, along with the help of the face of Bo, the big old face.
Big old face.
And and we also have a couple of very deep conversations between the Doctor and Martha along the way and at the end. And so, Gridlock, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Gridlock. First off, I'd forgotten it's sort of a very loose trilogy, this, isn't it? Which had completely, either forgotten or completely gone over my head. So it sort of links up a little bit with New Earth. And what's the one before that? The Eccleston one, End of the World, I think it was, wasn't it? So it's a very loose trilogy with Bo and New York and all that. I really enjoyed rewatching this the other night. Really enjoyed it, actually. Okay. For some reason, I always thought it was one of your favourite stories, which it's not, is it? I don't know where I got that from, but it's never been one of my favourites. But it's just one that I tend to forget about, although it's quite highly regarded. It's just not one I often go back to, so I haven't watched it for a long time. But I stuck it on last night or the night before, whenever it was, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great concept, great ideas in there, very easy to follow. I mean, just a nice, simple story, and it's explained very well across the course of the 45 minutes. So nice little twists in it, like when Martha's kidnapped, but they're actually good guys, and just real nice ideas like that. So really like this one, actually. It's always been one I liked, but just never really too bothered about. But I genuinely think it's gone up in my estimation. I think it's a real cracking little story. Yeah. What about you, mate? Because I don't know why I thought it was one of your favourites. I must be thinking of something else. But is it one that you liked on a rewatch?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
I really like this story. And for some reason you thought this was one of my faves.
I don't know why.
Of all time.
Yeah. I have got a friend that really loves this. I thought it was you, but it must be somebody else.
Yeah, that always happens. Yeah.
It is quite highly regarded, though, isn't it? I think a lot of people consider it to be a real classic of the RTD era. And I think for me, it just, for whatever reason, when it went out, I thought it was good, but I could never quite understand the fuss around it. I was thinking, yeah, it's good, but it's not all that. But having rewatched it, I do see why people like it so much. Yeah.
Yes, I mean you can see the appeal.
Yeah, definitely,
absolutely. And I wouldn't say it's my favourite of the Tennant era or Series 3, but it is up there with some of the best stories, I would say. And for some reason I really like this, but it's not one of the episodes that I've seen regularly over the years.
Same.
Yeah, I think I watched this last night, and I think that must have been maybe the 4th time that I'd seen it. Where if you think about some of the rewatches that I've gone through with the Tennant era, I've watched some of the episodes maybe 7-8 times.
Yeah.
So it's not one that I've watched that often, I would say. However, it's a cracking story. It's and I think that's because it's one of those stories where David Tennant is just on fire from start to finish. We have the very big sort of happy-go-lucky, confident Doctor from him. We also have the quite melancholy, sad Doctor as well. And then we also have a bit of humour in there as well. So for me, Tennant's performance is just brilliant. I like Martha in it. I like the cast as well. Well, most of the cast. And the effects weren't too bad either for 2007.
They do the job, don't they? Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, they do vary, I think. There are some shots that to me look terribly dated, but I mean, that sort of stuff never really bothers me, but they still sort of do the job, if you like. But then on the other end of it, like you'll get the end shot of where we get the city in the sunlight at the end is an incredibly beautiful CGI shot and just looks great even now. I just think what a great bit of CGI. Whereas some of the other bits you sort of think, oh dear, that looks dated now. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing in it where I thought, oh, it looks bad or they haven't. Let's put it this way, you can tell that they've put the effort in. Like sometimes if CGI is bad, you just feel like they sort of think, well, that's only on screen for a second. No one's going to care about that. Whereas in this, you can see that there's definitely effort gone in, and all the CGI in it. And there is quite a bit with all the cars and stuff. Even when it doesn't look that convincing, it still does the job and looks good, I think. But that end shot is beautiful, isn't it? That when we see the city and it's all lit up in the sunlight and the cars are sort of finally going up into the sky, absolutely looks amazing.
Yeah.
So really it stands up incredibly well for something that was 2007? Did you say?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. No, it looks good. Overall, it does look. It's a very nice looking episode, actually, considering how confined it is. I mean, a lot of it is in that car, and if you've ever seen the production photos from this, I can imagine it wasn't the most comfortable or enjoyable experience filming it, because they literally just, I think, built one car and kept redressing it, I think, and it was pretty cramped. I mean, it is like a proper sort of car that they've built. I assume they must have had some panels that they could take out to get the cameras in there, but it does still look really confined. So, and obviously the rest of it's just green screen and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I think considering what they had to work with, they do a pretty good job, and overall direction's pretty decent, I think. Yeah.
No, I concur. Yes.
I just found myself getting very wrapped up in it, and I think whenever I think of this story in my mind from memory, I always thought there was loads of humour in it, and I think in my head I thought there wasn't much story. I think that's why a bit like you, I don't always go back to this one very often, although I quite enjoy it. It's not one I put on very often, and I think it's because in my head I always think it's a bit lightweight. And watching it the other night, actually, I found there's loads of great stuff in there. There's loads of things going on in it, and it isn't boring at all. Actually, it's a good simple story. There is some nice humour in it. I just thought there was a lot more RTD-ness about it in my head. I thought there was some silliness. I was thinking, when he's jumping from car to car, I thought we got to see lots of different characters more than we do, and I just sort of remember thinking some of them were silly, but that's my mind playing tricks, because actually everybody we get to meet is really fun, and we just see them enough and they're not over the top, and it's a great idea, I think, of the Doctor jumping from car to car just to sort of move things on a bit and get to meet all these different characters in each car. I thought it was a lovely idea, actually.
Yeah, it was. I mean, some of the concepts within the story are when you said it's very confined.
Yeah,
I found that part of it quite uncomfortable, really, because there are times where you're stuck in traffic only for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, and that really does my head in.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm stuck in a car for more than 20 minutes, I start just getting agitated, and I just, I don't want to sit in traffic, So I found that incredible part of the story where life has just evolved, really, just for people living in their cars. Because the one of the casts that pops up in it throughout, the cat gentleman and his missus who had like the little baby cats.
Yeah,
they had been born in the traffic jam in the car, and then we have like the old couple, the two old girls who were, they had been, basically living their relationship out in the car.
Yeah,
and the couple that kidnapped Martha, the girl's pregnant, and she's basically come to terms with the fact that she's not going to give birth anywhere other than in the car. So I found that part of the story equally just brilliant by Russell T Davies, but also really uncomfortable to watch because it's just claustrophobic throughout pretty much the entire episode. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting story as well as a well acted, good thing. So let's talk a little bit about direction and stuff like that, because I thought like you said, for pretty much for a confined episode that's only a couple of sets really, I thought it was really well directed. And it must be difficult to bring a story to life when you've only got like because we had the sets that we see is like the sort of back alley street at the beginning when they land.
Yeah, is that they're selling the patches or whatever? Selling
the little patches, yeah. Then we see various interiors of people's cars, and that was interesting as well, how the interiors of people's cars reflect their sort of family or personality or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we see like the big chamber almost up in one of the towers where the face of Bo is and so on. So that's really all we've got, I think.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So I thought it was a great sort of a job well done, if you like, from Richard Clarke to bring a story to life where you've only got those few sets and interiors to work with. And I thought it was reasonably quick pace, but it wasn't so quick that things are like rushing past. You don't know what's going on because there were several moments in the story where it does dial back a lot, and it's just about some quite deep conversations. So in the TARDIS at the beginning where Martha's asking about doctors where we're going to go and stuff like that, and then towards the end where the Doctor has a conversation with the face of Bo and and the cat lady, what's her name?
Novice Haim,
yeah. And then at the end as well, where it's obviously very emotional and sad, where the Doctor's telling Martha about Gallifrey. But in between that, it was quite edited quite quickly, and it moves along at a decent pace. So that's one of the aspects that keeps me sort of hooked, if you like, throughout the story.
I thought the pacing was really good. And I say that with a little bit of surprise in my voice, because I thought initially, or at least I remember it being a bit slow. I remember thinking, it takes a while to get going and all that. But I actually on the rewatch thought the pacing was spot on. Like you said, it doesn't rush, but it doesn't drag. It just moves the story along very quickly, and it's a nice surprise at the start when Martha gets kidnapped, because that kind of comes out of nowhere, because they're just having a bit of a chat at that point, aren't they? And it starts off really nice as well with Martha, because this is really early on in the Doctor and Martha's sort of relationship, isn't it? So he's sort of saying, where do you want to go? I promised you one trip, but I'll give you another trip, because we can say one in the future, one in the past, whatever. So, where do you want to go? And she's talking about, take me to Gallifrey. I want let me meet your people. And I this lovely scene at the start, which I'd completely forgotten about. And yes, I have to say Tennant really plays that scene well, because it's just, again, all in the face, isn't it? You can just tell he's like trying to avoid it. He's like, I don't really want to, he's looking down at the console, trying to look busy. I don't really want to talk about Gallifrey. She picks up on it, like, what's going on? So the fact that it then comes full circle, and we get to that lovely scene at the end where she's like, I'm not moving till you tell me what's going on Gallifrey, because you're lying to me. And he's like, okay. And he's sort of, So I thought that was really nice how it started with that. We had the adventure, the Doctor's realizes that even though Martha's on board, because he does say a couple of times, we've only just met, And the guy's like, but you're willing to risk your life for someone you've only just met or something, and all that. And I thought, yeah, it's great because it does show a nice building of friendship between the Doctor and Martha, and it ties in a lot with the fact that he lost Rose as well, because I think he's trying to purposely not get close to someone again, but he's kind of forced to do that in this story. So it serves a purpose in that sense as well. So I just thought it was a lovely scene at the beginning and a lovely scene at the end, and a good sort of adventure in the middle. So it's kind of perfect in that sense, actually, the way it all just fitted together very nicely, if you like. I don't know if you'd agree with me though, but that end scene, you know, when she plonks the chair down and forces him to talk about Gallifrey, and then he starts describing it, and it's such a lovely scene between the two of them, and then the camera just lifts up and you're leaving them. I don't know about you, but I always think, no, stay. I want to hear the rest.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the first time I watched that thinking, oh, wow, we're finally going to get to hear about it. And then we only get like the beginning where the Doctor's describing the Citadel and all that. And, you know, I don't know. You just really want to hear the rest of that conversation, I think. And it's great in many ways that we don't, because it just leaves you wanting more. And it just gives us just a little bit to go on, and, you know, and not too much. And it's perfect, really. But every time that camera pans away, I'm like, no, go back down. I want to hear it all, you know?
Yeah.
Just because of the way that they're playing it. And Tennant's so good when he's like describing Gallifrey and that. You can totally visualize all the stuff he's saying and all that. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Scene.
Yeah, I love how they do that, where it sort of leaves you thinking, well, what else would he tell her? Yeah. You know, how long were they sat there? You know, were they sat there for hours, and he's going through all of the stuff about Gallifrey that maybe a lot of us hadn't have heard in any of the episodes or Big Finish. You know, it's like, how much did he tell her? You know, so it is cool, but in another way, it is frustrating, because you're like, what did he say? Go back down. What did he say? Yeah. So
also, I'm not sure at this point, because I can't remember, but I'm not sure how much we knew about the Time War as a viewer at this point, because I don't think we knew that much, but I could be wrong, because obviously this is, quite a few years ago now, and I can't remember. Like Chris mentions the odd bit I remember, and then, we get little bits here and there and now, but yeah, I don't think at this point we really knew much, did we, about the Time War? From what I remember, it's so long ago that I can't think, but I think this is, again, perhaps that's why I want to hear more, because I think at the time, as I was sort of thinking, he's finally talking about it, and then we don't get to find out much more than the fact it was the Daleks and a big war and lots of people died, and so I don't know, but I can't remember. In the midst of time, it's all got jumbled up, because obviously now we know quite a lot about the Time War, and we know what happened and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's difficult to say. Yeah,
it's because I think Eccleston's Doctor mentions it, doesn't he?
Because again, it's in the sort of, again, comes back to that loose trilogy of 3 stories, because he mentions it at the end of the world, doesn't he? When him and Rose he's having that chat with them on the busy street, and he sort of mentions there was a war and all my people died or something. I'm sure it's at the end of that episode, isn't it? I can remember she's in like the red top, and I'm sure it's at the end of the episode. He's sort of saying that the planet burned, and again, you only get like a couple of minutes, and then we're off, and we don't hear much more after that. But I'm sure he does start talking about it in that one. Yeah,
I think you're right. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, in terms of the Time War and stuff, it's we so, because I imagine it when it went out, originally was broadcast. A lot of fans were probably like, "Wow, this is great. We're going to hear about," and then it leaves you wanting more. So that's quite cleverly, written, I suppose, in that respect.
I'm sure that's what I was like. That's why I don't think we knew that much at this point, because I'm sure at the time I was getting all excited, thinking, right, at last we're going to get more information on this Time War, and then I don't think we don't really. But we also do get another great piece of loose linking. I wouldn't call it a story arc, but something else thrown in there, which again is just perfect. Is Bo revealing his secret, because in New Earth he says, "We shall meet for the 3rd time, on the last time, and I shall tell you something, but not now." And you're like, what? And so he finally gets to tell the Doctor this big secret, which just turns out to be, you are not alone. And I remember, the first time I watched that, thinking, well, what is that? What? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And obviously, like, all the rumors start flying around. It's, the Master's coming back. And you're like, oh. And again, it's brilliant, isn't it? Because we all know what went on to be with John Sim and all that. So, when we watch it now, we're thinking, we know what he's talking about. But back then, I think there was still a little bit of mystery from what I remember. Yeah.
Yes. And there was also some rumors and stuff that went flying around after the face of Bo had bit the dust, so to speak. That the origins of his character.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of that?
So, so the long and short of it is, there is a theory that the face of Bo is Captain Jack.
Yeah. Now, is that just RTD just throwing a flippant joke in there, or do you think there is some substance? Could he be Jack?
Well, of course he could be.
He could be.
There's nothing to say that he couldn't be.
I'm trying to think, what is the story where Jack says that? It might be Utopia.
No,
or something like
The Last of the Time Lords.
Oh, is it The Last of the Time Lords? Because he sort of, it's a real throwaway comment. He's like, it's him, it's Jack, the Doctor, and Martha chatting, like in Wales. And then he sort of goes off and says, the face of Bo, they used to call me. And then Martha looks at the Doctor as if to say, no, he's not the face of Bo, is he? And it's like, and that's what it is, isn't it? It's because Jack just references that he used to be known as the face of Bo at some point or something.
Yeah. So in that episode, Captain Jack says that his nickname. Yeah. Was the face of Bo. And we also have, so in this episode in Gridlock, when I think the face of Bo calls the Doctor his old friend.
That's right.
As well. And I think Captain Jack has called the Doctor that before. My old friend. So there are some, and I can't remember exactly what if anything came of that, but I'm pretty sure that Russell T Davies, I think he did want to explore that from what I remember. I think where did I read that? I read it somewhere that he wanted to explore that, and maybe
it might be in the writer's tale.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he sort of wanted to throw it out there. That was a theory that could have some merit to it, but then I think he was sort of bullied into just getting on with it, from what I remember.
I kind of prefer it though. I kind of like it left open. I don't think I want it confirmed either way, really, because I just like the fact that it could be, if you know what I mean. I don't really want to know, yes, it is, or no, it isn't. I just like the fact that they could be the same person somehow.
Yeah.
Because obviously Jack's indestructible. Wait, no, sorry, he's not indestructible, is he? He's he can't be killed, or he keeps coming back to life, or whatever. So there is that chance that he could end up like in that chamber as a big old face. I don't know. It could happen, but I don't know. Yeah. I just like the fact it's just out there, and you can read into it or as little as you want. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure I'm not too bothered by it really. I mean, it's quite cool, like you say, that it's not confirmed, so it's just down to sort of loads of fan theories to mull it over and make their own minds up. But I think it is quite telling that Jack does say that one of his nicknames was the face of Bo. That is a bit of that is quite telling there, but who knows?
Yeah, we should probably never know, but
unless Russell T Davies comes back and writes a spin-off show called The Face of Bo and His Adventures or whatever.
The young adventures of the face of Bo.
or maybe John Barrowman will get his way and Tortured will come back, but it'll be like a prequel series. So it'll be like the life and times of early Jack Harkness, and then it will go into a proper series of Torchwood, and then it will be a sequel where it's like the dying years of Captain Jack, and maybe RTD will write it.
The Bo years.
The Bo years, yeah.
Yeah. There's a spin-off.
There's a spin-off for you. We're doing a bloody job for him.
I know.
Crikey. Who came? Yeah. I've got an idea for a spin-off. Yeah. How about this one? There's a bunch of kids.
Oh, no.
All right. So the face of Bo aside, because he is quite an important character in the story, in both that he's sort of integral to the big message that he gives the Doctor at the end. That sort of kicks off the Master and everything. In later episodes, but he's also physically responsible for keeping the population alive because it's his kind of life force, I suppose, and the energy that he sort of linked himself up to the main sort of central system, hasn't he? And he's keeping it all going. So I thought that was quite heartbreaking in a way because, he's sort of using up all of his life force and everything to sort of save everyone else.
Yeah, I thought, I know what you mean. And because all the people that are stuck in the traffic jam, you assume they're sort of living hell, but actually they're just the people that have been saved, haven't they, from this? And also, this is the other thing I like about the story, which I'd forgotten about. So the people that have all been wiped out in the city, it's because of these patches, which are only sort of mentioned now and again in the story, but it turns out that it was because they invented one called Bliss, I think. And it turned out to, it amalgamated into some sort of airborne virus, which wiped out the population. So I thought, that's good, because we've sort of, they've just been subtly put in the story, but we haven't really sort of thought much about them. But the fact that they've turned out to be quite important, I thought was really good. So they've wiped out the population. All these people have been shoved, is it underground or wherever this gridlock is? So all those people that we think are, trapped in their cars, whatever, they're actually been saved. But they're only being saved because Bo's plugged himself into the main computer and is keeping everything going and keeping them under there. But then it sort of turns out, I suppose, to wrap up the story, that the virus is now cleared, so he can let them all out, I suppose.
Yeah, it's really sad.
But that's the only thing that I found a little bit rushed, because I was thinking, well, they probably could have gone a long time ago. Like the Doctor realizes very quickly that the virus is probably gone, or I just felt the explanation was a bit quick, if you know what I mean. He's like, oh no, it's fine now, you can let them all out. And then Bo, Doctor flicks a few switches and Bo opens up the roof so that they can all fly out and they're all back, outside. And it's, so it's a great ending, but I was sort of thinking, but it did seem a tad rushed to me, because I was thinking, well, if Bo could do that, why didn't he do it before? Right. I mean, Doctor only flicks a few switches. Maybe there was more to it that we didn't see.
Possibly.
But I did have to sort of, in terms of storylines, thinking, well, why didn't you do that before? Why, But how did they know it was the virus had gone, sort of thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it does work in terms of just wrapping the story up. But I did think it was a little bit quick, if you like.
A little bit. And that brings me on to something I was going to say, actually. There was certain elements of the story that they couldn't flesh out. Because, and I'm not saying it should have been a two-parter or anything, but there was certain elements that I especially wanted to know more, because the whole concept of the story was that pretty much the entire population was trapped in a traffic jam. That was where they were. But there were two elements that I wanted them to explore a bit more. The first one was that not everybody is in the traffic jam. So when the Doctor and Martha land, and they're walking down that sort of dodgy looking alleyway, you do have like the vendors there selling selling the emotions, patches. The patches, the emotion patches, and so on. So there's obviously people that are not stuck in their cars and vans. There are people knocking about. So I wanted to sort of find out a bit more about where they live, because they obviously don't live in their cars, or maybe they do.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
And the other thing was, when I think it's when Haim is she's tracking down the Doctor, and she jumps into one of the cars. She does mention something about, because she's got like a gun with her, hasn't she? And she does mention something about pirates. Oh yeah. So that would have been quite good to explore that as well. So I quite like the idea of like there's, like this sort of renegade, sort of criminals and outlaws that are maybe sort of hopping into people's vans and robbing them and so on. And but we never see anything like that because there just wasn't enough time within the story to flesh those things out. But you can tell that there was a much bigger world and things going on. I mean, I know that the story wanted the viewer to sort of focus in on that the population was essentially trapped in a loop, basically, because there's no sunlight and they're trapped underground. You almost feel like that they're being sort of duped, because all they're doing really is going in a giant circle for years and
Yeah.
years and years, and it's almost like oppressive. Well, it's not oppressive. It's like a sort of pseudo-oppressive culture, isn't it? Because there's no one person masterminding it all, because the governors or whoever are all dead. So it's like this automated thing where you have the hologram each morning that
That's right.
that sort of pops up and keeps them going, and they all sing the hymn and all that stuff. But there's a lot more in the story actually that you don't necessarily lock onto, especially the first time you watch it, because you just focus so much on the theory that everyone's trapped. But actually, that's not the case. There's a lot more going on, but we just didn't have time, unfortunately, to look into it. So, yeah, maybe a Big Finish can flesh that out a bit more or something. I don't know, but
Yeah, because it's a bit like the police, isn't it? The doctor says, you all rely on the police, but have you ever actually seen them in the last sort of 20 years or whatever? And they're like, no, I've never seen. So there's all these sort of things out there to keep them in place. And like you said, I think Brannigan might mention pirates as well at some point or something. And I think pirates do get mentioned twice. So like you said, you get the idea. There's a much bigger picture out there. I think perhaps if it had been an hour episode, it would have just given just a little bit more room just to have maybe fleshed out a few things. Because the other bit, that I'm going to knock a point off here for, because it's just, again, too quick and just wraps up the story, is the fact that Martha, the doctor, spends all the episode trying to get to Martha. And then she just walks around the corner back into the room. And I was like, how did she get there? I thought that was not, well, I don't know if I would call it lazy, but I think, again, it's just there to wrap everything up. But I did did you think that she spends, they spend the whole episode trying to find each other, and then we never see her dropped off or anything. She just literally walks in the room and goes, hi, I'm back. And, oh, who's this?
Well, I thought that, I didn't think there was anything wrong with that bit, because the doctor says, I'm transmitting you coordinates on how to find me.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that line then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I can see how it would look very convenient that she just strolls in.
I didn't hear him say that. I was probably okay. Yeah, I just thought, because she just suddenly walks back around the corner.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't hear him say about the coordinates. So okay, that's fair enough. I might need to add an extra 0.5 onto my score then.
Yeah, it's now a 2 and not a 1.
Yeah.
I think
it's not a big thing.
Yeah, it's something like that anyway. Maybe not exactly, but
I think you're right, actually.
And let's so along with like the main before we rattle through some characters, so the main story arc then.
Yeah.
We also have these giant crab creatures, don't we? Called the Macra or the Macra, whatever.
Yeah.
And it is one of those stories actually where I actually quite liked the very short description and explanation as to why they're there. So the doctor does say that, millions, well, maybe billions of years ago, they were quite intelligent creatures, and they've devolved into
yeah.
So I quite like that. So basically, we don't have to go through loads of exposition. So we find out what, who they were originally and why they're there and all that stuff. Essentially, they just devolved into these just creatures that just they just live to eat and just, and that's it. That's their only purpose. And they live right down on the surface where, so I thought this was quite interesting as well. So if they've essentially got this carpool theory going on, haven't they? Carpool lane, where if you've got 3 or more passengers, you can descend down into the fast lane.
But that's the other thing I need to explain, actually. So yeah, that's the way they do it. But if you go to the fast lane, the chances are you're going to get killed. So is that just a way of, what's the purpose for that, or does the bow not know that they're down there?
I'm not sure, because I thought that was part of the plan of these creatures, is to get people down into the fast lane so that they can, capture them and have dinner.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing. That's part of their plan, if you like. So that, I mean, it didn't go into great detail about that, did they? They didn't really explain.
No, it's not much of an explanation. Again, another sort of 15 minutes. If it had been an hour episode, they could have perhaps explained that a bit better. Because it works in terms of being a fun piece of television, because it adds a bit of adventure. Because there's no real monster or baddie in this story, so to speak. So it's quite nice when we get that little extra element of having the Macra in it, especially as they're, from a Troughton episode that has been lost, long lost in the vault. So it was quite a nice surprise at the time, I think, when it was revealed to be the Macra down there. It was like a real nice shout back to the classic series from RTD, but without doing anything too much with it. It's just a nice little, I wouldn't call it fan service at all, because it totally works, I think. It's like you said, the fact they've devolved as well. I just thought it was a real nice little bit that was put in there. But yeah, I'm not quite sure about the fast lane. I couldn't quite get my head around, because presumably people think the fast lane is where they need to be, because everyone's trying to get 3 people to go down there. But obviously anyone who does go down there is liable to die, which they don't realise. And I'm thinking, well, who's set that up? Or is it just that it's evolved and happened? And yeah. So there's not much explanation there, but it does still make for a fun bit of television, I think. Just adds a little bit of adventure in there.
It does, yeah. And I think it started off. So when the big traffic jam first started, so excuse me, I think there was rumours, or it started off that you could go into the fast lane, but because people were disappearing, it just became sort of rumour and hearsay. It's like if you go into the fast lane, some people go missing and all that stuff. But because there's no police around and there's nothing else going on, nobody can prove otherwise.
Nobody knows.
It's just a thing, So it's all in all, it's quite clever.
I
would say. Yeah,
it does work. Yeah.
Old RTD. It's a clever chap. Right, let's talk about some characters. Let's talk about some of the people in the cars that the Doctor and Martha come across. So we have so what's the first car that he jumps in? It's the cat guy, isn't it? With
that's Brannigan, isn't it?
Brannigan.
Ardlo Harlan.
That's it, yeah. And his missus, who have got the very cute little kittens. So
there's a nice scene with Tennant with that cat, actually.
Yeah, so she's given birth to some very cute little kittens, and the Doctor's all over it. It's very cutie. And I thought, so who was so he's been in quite a few things, hasn't he?
Well, he's best known for Father Ted, isn't he? For playing Dougal. Although obviously you wouldn't recognise him under the cat mask, which actually is fairly decent. Actually, I thought the makeup and the mask he's got on is pretty good in this. Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, you can see a bit around the eyes where it's been thing, but I thought he looked pretty good as a character, as this sort of cat, tiger, whatever you want to call him. So Ardlo O'Harlan. Yeah, did you ever watch Father Ted?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, great series, and obviously he was good in that. So in this, he's playing I would say a fun character. I don't think he overdoes the comedy. I think he's quite likable actually in it. I thought he was pretty good in it.
Yes.
As Dougal, he plays very much the sort of simpleton, really, doesn't he? He's just a bit thick. That's the character he plays. But in this, he's a bit more, just a good character, I thought.
Yeah, he was quite likable as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, very likable.
Yeah, that's what I like about a lot of the RTD stuff, is that the characters are very, very likable, or they're written in a way that you're not really a fan of it, but that's his exact intention. So I really like that. It's like his character work. I've said this so many times. He does that so well. Like the interaction, like his just coming up with characters is great, and his interactions between characters is always great. But the thing is, he doesn't write them in the way where they have to try too hard to come across as either likable or a bad guy or a bit sinister. The script is there and is done in such a way where they can just act it out really well, on screen. Whereas some of the Moffat era, again, I hate, I don't really want to bash, a lot of his stuff too much, but you can tell that the actors are really, really trying hard to make good of a not so great script in terms of like dialogue between people.
I think there's an absolute truth in that, because if you think about it, you've got this cat person with a attractive human, and it could be laughed off the screen if it wasn't written right. But to me, they're totally believable as a couple. It's just like because of the way that they act, and like you said, the dialogue is very natural. The performance is very natural. But if you think about it, what you're actually watching, is a bit crazy. She's supposed to have given birth to these kittens, but you're not sat there thinking, well, this is ridiculous. I'm sat there thinking, these are, I can believe these guys are together and have been trapped in this van for all these years, and they're just a family on their way, living their lives. That, I think they're totally believable, and I think you're right. I think a lot of that is down to the dialogue, because if you look at it from the outside, it could be ridiculous, if you know what I mean. Yeah. The fact they've got kitten babies in the back of the van. I mean, it is. A lot of it is down to dialogue, and that's RTD. Just bring characters to life. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I like those guys. They were quite cool.
Yeah.
What about the old couple then? The old married couple. What do you reckon?
I love the old married couple. So what are they called? The Hayseeni sister? No, what does he call them?
Is it Alice and May?
I think so, yeah, but he calls them like the Hayseeni. He calls them sisters, and she's like, very well we're not sisters. We've been married for years or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I do remember at the time people were like a very small corner of fandom or whatever you want to call it. We're like, oh, RTD just has to go and put the gay thing in there, doesn't he? Just has to do it. Has to have a gay couple and all this. I think they're charming, and it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel shoehorned into me at all. I just think it's a really nice scene between the two of, just the fact it's just this couple that have, you get the feeling they've been together forever because they're both quite old, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're both, she's like, trust me to end up with a van spotter or whatever.
Yeah.
Once again, comes back to what you said, just really nice characters that I instantly liked them, instantly got on board with the fact that they're, been together for years, probably drive each other nuts, but love each other very much. And you're just like, well, that's them in a nutshell. Yeah. Brilliant.
That's exactly what I thought. After literally 10 seconds of them two being in it, you just there's no questioning it. You just think, oh, they're a normal couple that have been together for donkey's years, that get on each other's nerves now and then, and that's perfect. It's just perfect,
Probably polar opposite. She's like the geeky one, and the other one's like the doesn't have any interest in it. But it's just, I don't know. It's just relatable, I guess.
Yeah. And it's a bit like with some couples where you have one of them who's like, Mr. or Mrs. Neighborhood Watch. They're always nosy, peeking out the window, seeing what's going on. It's basically like that, isn't it? Because one of them's like constantly writing down all the news that's going on over the radio and what's going on, and the other one's like, oh crikey, here we go again, a van spotter. And you know what, the whole gay couple thing, that doesn't even matter, doesn't even come into it as to if they're gay or not, whatever. That's just
no I just remember at the time, because I think people were just a bit like, if Russell put any sort of gay reference, or I think the bit like where Jack kissed the doctor at the end of it, and people like, there was a very small section, I'm not even going to say fandom, I don't even know, a small section of people, maybe the press or fans or whatever, who were just like, oh, he has to do it, doesn't he? Just has to, yes, Russell, we know you're gay, why do you have to put it in Doctor Who? There was definitely a small minority of people that were saying that at the time. I don't think, times have changed even since then, to be honest. I don't think anybody would think anything of it now. But I do remember, because obviously I watched these when they first went out, I do remember every time there was any reference, like, oh, Jack's bisexual, was saying, oh, right, well, of course, it's RTD, oh, he would do. There was always a very small minority of people that would say things like that. But I don't think anyone thinks anything of it now at all. I mean, I don't watch that scene and think, oh, yes, RTD, old gay couple, of course. Oh, RTD. I don't think that at all. I just think, oh, I love these two. Yeah. Love this scene. And
it's definitely, it's definitely a generational thing. We were watching, anyone in the UK that watches a program called Gogglebox. If you watch it, everyone's watching it. Yeah. We were watching it the other night, and my son, who was going to be 10 in May, one of the couples on Gogglebox is these two guys. They're hairdressers that live down in Brighton, and they used to be a couple, but they've separated and they're with other partners, but they still hang out, on an evening and watch TV for Gogglebox and so on. And my son said, very just casually, off the cuff, he was like, "Oh, are those two married?" And we said, "No, they're not. They used to be together, but they're just friends now." And he was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So it must, and I imagine if I don't think my son's watched this episode, but I imagine if I sat down and watched it, he wouldn't even blink an eye at that reference or anything like that. So I can completely see what you're saying, because I wouldn't have watched this when it went out on the TV, because I wasn't watching Who then. But I can imagine there would have been, a bunch of people like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, I think it's just because it was RTD. I just remember there was and it was a very small minority, but I think a little bit in the press as well. I think it was very easy to jump on that bandwagon in terms of the press because of RTD having done the Queer as Folk and that, and they were saying, oh, he doesn't need to bring it into Doctor Who. Why is he doing that sort of thing? And and again, it as has been, like you said, as we've moved on and times have changed, it's now become, basically he's showing back then that it's perfectly normal to have these two people in that relationship. And like you said, nowadays it's seen that way, but perhaps not so much when it went out. But yeah, it just goes to show that he was very much thinking ahead.
Forward thinking.
Russell.
Yeah. And they're a great couple. They're very funny. Not intentionally sort of over the top funny, but they are funny.
No, it's a nice performance from the two actors. Yeah.
And I like also that the Brannigan and his wife, they've obviously been travelling in quite close proximity to these old girls in the traffic jam for a long time, because he knows them very well. He's got nicknames for them. They obviously know of each other, and I really like that, because even though they can't go outside of the vans because of the terrible pollution, because the doctor nearly chokes to death, doesn't he? So the terrible fumes, and they can't go outside. So all they've got is communication over the radio, but you can tell that they've been alongside or near each other in the traffic jam for a long time, because they're having a laugh and a joke and they know each other, and I think that's quite good as well.
Yeah, again, it builds up the relationship and characters, doesn't it? Yeah. It's nice. I love the scene when the doctor's jumping from van to van, just meeting all these different people, and the fact that he sort of takes things from each van. So like you said about the smoke, so when he goes into one van, he says, oh, can I just borrow this, and puts on like the face scarf to try and help his breathing and stuff. And it's just what a lovely idea, just going van to van, just picking the bits he needs, and you get to see all these different characters on the way. And the last guy he ends up with is quite a sort of posh English gent, isn't he? He's like, "We've got some water." Well, certainly, really nice idea, actually.
Yeah. I like that each person has got their own. The van has got like its own personality, if you like, the way they've kitted it out. Yeah. So the old Dorises, they've got a very homely, sort of like your
crochet and knitting, and
then the guy who's very prim and proper in the suit, and his looks very different to.
This is like an office. He's got like the big water thing where you'd get your water cup and all that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. Let's talk about the couple then that kidnapped Martha. So this is Cheen and Milo. So I thought that I was quite surprised when I very first watched it, because they're actually okay people. They were just, society has just forced them to do something quite terrible in order to just, get to where they need to go. Because once they kidnap Martha in the van, they're actually quite nice to her. They're like, don't worry, as soon as we get there, we'll drop you off. We're not going to do anything bad to you. We just need you in the car just for, number of bodies' sake. So, don't worry, we're not going to do anything. Because I imagine that Martha's probably crapping herself.
But I was going to say, that's a great scene, isn't it? Because Martha's all fired up, ready for like, what's going on here? And then they're just sat there like, oh, don't worry about it. We're really sorry, but we just needed you for numbers. So it's all good. We're not going to hurt you. Don't worry about it. Chill out, relax. And she's just a bit like, what the hell's going on here? I thought it was a great scene. Really good, because you go from thinking she's been kidnapped by God knows who, and then it turns out that actually they just need her for numbers, and there's no malice. They're not going to harm her. They're not going to do anything. And they're quite good characters, actually. We don't get to know a great deal about them. But I do think they're good in the performance, and I recognise the girl from something. What do I know the girl from? Who's playing Cheen?
Lenora Critchlow.
She been in like Humans or no, not Humans, Misfits maybe. I've seen her in something else.
She's been in quite a few things, mate.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, I know her. Being Human. There you go. Being human. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I know. I recognise her. Yeah, she's a good actress. I liked her. I recognise the guy as well. Actually, what's his name?
The guy's name. That is Travis Oliver.
What's he been in? Because I recognise him as well.
I didn't recognise him, to be honest with you.
I thought I'd seen him in something. So look, he's been in Doctors. Good grief, everyone's been in Doctors. Footballers' wives. I don't know. He looked familiar as well, but I thought those guys were good as just this sort of young couple trying to get on, trying to jump to the fast lane and stuff, and quite likable actually, because obviously we assume they're bad when they kidnap Martha, but it turns out they're just a nice ordinary couple actually. Yeah. Trying to see what else he's been in. Loads of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't recognise him though. No. Okay, what about? So there's a few other people scattered around, like the merchants in the street and so on. Let's talk about Novice Haim.
Novice Haim, yeah, it's good to have her back, isn't it?
The cat lady. So I think it's really sweet when she first sees the Doctor and he doesn't recognise her, and she tells him, it's been a long time and all that, and he's like gives her a big hug, and I thought that's really cool.
Oh, is that, yeah? Does he because he's like, oh yes, no, hang on, you're bad, and he's like, he suddenly remembers that she's a baddie, and she's like, no, I've redeemed myself, and he's like, oh, okay then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a lovely little scene actually, and again, nice to tie that back in with New Earth and all that. By bringing her back, it kind of all brings it full circle. So I like her, and she does. She seems almost like I can't remember her in New Earth though. Is she She's not the really bad one, is she? She's kind of the sort of assistant one that's going along with it, isn't she?
Yeah, she's just kind of been caught up in it, and she's going along with it. Yeah. She does actually say, you do feel quite sorry for her because she but my penance, is to stay behind, and
that's right.
So you do feel a bit sorry for her, but she, in a way, she's, you can tell that she's grown very fond of Bo, and he's caring for him and all that. So yeah, I think she's quite a sweet character. Although she was potentially quite bad back in New Earth. She has redeemed. Yeah,
redeemed herself.
Yeah, and the Doctor feels really sorry for her. She's like, he's very confused as to why she hasn't contacted anyone or alerted for help. She's like, I didn't have a choice, and he's like, you did. You.
That's right. I love that bit. He's like, because he's remembered what she did in previous story, and he's thinking he should be angry with her, but then he realizes what she has done. That is lovely, isn't it, when she goes, I didn't have a choice, and he goes, well, you did, but you chose to stay. So yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, she was quite a good character in it. And then we've spoken about Bo, obviously.
Yeah, very sad though, very
really
sad that we see the end of Bo, and especially when his case cracks, because he's before that, he's sort of on the way out, isn't he? You can see the puffs of steam. He's going to go.
He's on the way out.
Yeah. He's on the way out. But it's just the fact that when Martha strolls in, he's kind of outside of the case, just lying on the floor, the big old face on the floor. And it is really quite sad, isn't it?
It is.
Again, Tennant sells that scene to me. He makes it 10 times more emotional because, Bo says his piece. Voiced by Stuart Roger, and Bo says his piece, and that's sad. It's the end of Bo, but it's Tennant's face, isn't it? Just brings it home. He's like, no, you big old face, you ain't going anywhere. Come on, and he's just like, no, and just shuts his eyes. It is emotional. I think it's a really great scene between the Doctor and Bo. Yeah,
and it's all reliant on Tennant's performance as well, because he's acting to a puppet. So so you're right. He has to sell that, and he does sell it 100%.
He does sell it. Yes, he does. Yeah.
So old Bo, shame.
Yeah. It is a shame. Yeah.
Or
Get
Jack.
to hear those last words. Yeah.
Jack, Bo, whatever theory you want to go with. It's all about Martha Jones. So she's a bit. She gets a bit annoyed a couple of times in this, doesn't she? The first time she gets annoyed is where, she
gets kidnapped.
Well, before that, she basically says to the Doctor, so you came here with Rose then?
Oh, yeah. That's awkward, isn't it?
Yeah. Nose is out of place a little bit there, out of joint. And I love how the Doctor just doesn't pick up on it, because he's like, yeah. And he doesn't see that she's miffed by that,
She says something about rebound, doesn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, and storms off. Then she gets kidnapped, and that's clearly upsetting and, angry for her. And then she also gets a bit fed up with the Doctor sort of palming her off. She's trying to get the truth out of him and what really happened, and he's constantly like, it doesn't matter. They get to that point, and that's another thing where Tennant's so good, where it gets to that point where his vulnerability shows through. And you think he's just about to, open up to her and tell her, but then he just switches off, and he's got his sort of happy-go-lucky, like, don't matter.
I'm all right. I'm always all right, sort of thing.
Yeah. But it sort of gets to the point where she just had enough at the end. She pulls the chair out, sits down, and she's like, "We're not going anywhere until you give me the lowdown." So she has these nice moments in this story, actually, where she's not having it anymore, and she wants to know what's going on, but she's also obviously really sad when Beau's dying. And so again, like Tennant, I thought she played this really well. There was highs and lows for her, and she acted it out really well. I think old Freema.
I think Freema's good. I like Freema Argyman. And I like the character of Martha Jones as well. I never know why she gets so much stick. I really thought she was good in it. I really like the scenes that I've highlighted that I thought she was particularly good in is there's a part where I think Brannigan says something to her and she so suddenly realises that her parents have got no idea where she is. She's like, I've just realised, like, if this is it, if I die now, like, if this really is the end, my parents haven't got a clue where I am.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great scene, really nicely written and really nicely performed. There's the bit at the end, obviously, where she stands up to the doctor and says, "I'm not moving from this chair until you tell me the truth." And I just thought, in all the little scenes when she's given something where she's got to step up to the plate, I thought Freema did it really well. And I think she's a great companion. I know people don't like the fact that she sort of harks after the doctor in terms of a love interest. I get that, but it doesn't bother me at all, really, because I do like the fact it leads up to the fact that she, in the end, has to accept that he's, doesn't feel that way about her.
Yeah.
I just think she's a good companion. I like Martha, and I think she gets some nice little moments in this. She's good when she's angry, like when she gets kidnapped, because she takes her a while to calm down. Like the two that have kidnapped her have already sort of settled back in their seats and, got relaxed, and she's sort of still like, what? All flustered and stuff. So I thought Freema was good in this. I liked her.
Very good.
Good with Tennant. Good with the supporting cast.
Yeah.
Just good. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mr. Tennant himself, then. For me, one of the shining stars of the story, the episode.
Yeah, I thought David was very good in this. I will say this, though. I don't think you're going to agree, but there were times I found him just a little bit shouty, and I just wanted him to bring it down a notch. And I'm talking like only a couple of scenes here. I mean, there was just one or two bits where I just felt it's still absolutely brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but there were just sometimes I was thinking he's really going crazy here, and it's not really his performance is wrong. I was just sort of thinking I'm not sure. I don't know. If it was sort of almost acting as if Martha was dead. I think it was just like he was going a little bit too. I'm not saying over the top, but a bit too crazy. Like when Martha gets taken away, he really shouts, "Martha!"
Right, yeah.
And I was thinking, I don't know. There were just every now and again, and it is a real small point because he is so good in it. But there was just a couple of little bits where he's really going nuts, where I felt like he just needed to bring it down a peg, because he's great when he does that, but I wasn't sure the situations were necessarily calling for him to be that angry as the Doctor, if you see what I mean. Because like he says to those guys he's going to shut them down, doesn't he? He sort of takes out his anger on the vendors at the beginning. He's like, "I'm coming back and you guys are shutting down." And he's like really angry. And I thought, steady on. They haven't done anything. I don't know. There was a couple of tiny little bits where I just wanted him to bring the performance down a bit. But I did think in the rest of it, absolutely agree. He did totally shine, especially with the emotional stuff and Beau at the end. And like you said, and the stuff with Novice Haim, lovely performance, and all the stuff jumping between the cars and the interaction with those guys. Yeah, definitely on fire. But for me, there was just a couple of little bits. So I just wanted him to just rein it in just a little bit in terms of what was going on in the story, if you like.
I read you. Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of times when he's fixing all the computers and stuff with Haim, and, Beau's sort of dying away slowly at the same time, and he's throwing levers and all the rest of it. And he is quite shouty there. Yeah,
just a little bit shouty. I was just sometimes thinking, I don't know, it's as if like normally when the Doctor gets that angry, it's when something's really kicking off. And I felt like, I know Martha's missing, but I couldn't quite understand quite why he was at that level of anger in certain parts, if you know what I mean. I almost felt like Tennant was giving 10% when actually in that particular moment he needed to be sort of 8. It didn't need to be quite that full on, if you like. It was as if he was really trying hard to make the scene, and he just needed to just relax a little and go with the scene. And then, as I said, it was only a couple of tiny bits that I felt that, but But yeah, I mean, he's still absolutely fantastic in it. Yeah,
he is great. And I think, like I said earlier, it's that range of emotion that I love with Tennant sometimes, where he does cheeky and happy very well, then he goes quite somber and melancholy, and then he goes happy again, and then he does, serious. I really like that.
Yeah.
Very good. Last thing I want to mention before our scores is the music. I've really liked Murray Gold's music for this.
Yeah.
There's a piece of music that plays out when Beau's passing away. And there's a bit, I think they replay it towards the end, where the Doctor's telling Martha about Gallifrey and so on, and the camera's panning.
Lovely.
Really
Beautiful.
Lovely music from Murray Gold in this one.
Yeah, no, he's really on point in this story. The music's fantastic. Yeah, there's a bit where they all sing a hymn, isn't there, when they're in the traffic jam as well.
Right. Yeah,
it's lovely moment. I think you're right. The two bits that steal it for me in terms of his music are the bit where Beau dies, and the end scene with Tennant and the Doctor and Martha, where he's talking about Gallifrey. The music's beautiful. Just the way it pans up to the skyline as well. Yeah, really, really works with the story, his music in this. Yeah, good job from Murray.
Indeedy. Anything else you want to mention, mate, before we do our scores?
No, the music was the last thing I'd underlined, actually. I thought, we must mention it because it is particularly good in this story. So yeah.
Talking of music, here we are. Let's go on to our scores. And it's you to go first.
Oh no, I was hoping it was you.
Nah.
I'm stuck.
Oh, here we go.
That's why I was hoping it was you.
I'll go first then.
Go on then.
It's easy for me. This is an 8 out of 10.
All right then. Yeah, I'm stuck between a 7.5 and an 8.
Okay.
7.5 seems too low, and 8, I don't know, 8 I normally say is like a bit of a gem. I suppose it is a bit of a gem.
7.25?
No, not too. No, I mean, I have written 8. I'm just going to show you like they do on Countdown. I have written an 8, so I guess I'll stick with you. It is good, isn't it? It is good.
Something's
and I think
back,
I was
though.
not. No, I think it was the Martha thing, but you've explained it, so I think I need to give it an 8 now. I think if Martha had just suddenly appeared on the planet like I thought she had, I think I would have had to have knocked off a point. So I'll go with an 8. 8, same as you. It is good. I did really enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'll
8's all round.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Let's see what our lovely listeners thought. Let's kick off with an audio clip. This is Joe Sweeney.
Hello again, Adam. Hope you guys are well. Gridlock is, I'll say it's an average episode. The story was quite simple, but it does have a complicated side to it. But I like the idea of the story, like the Doctor taking Martha to New Earth, where he last took Rose in that awful New Earth episode. And it's quite interesting of like how the Doctor uses Martha to travel with him to cope with his loss over Rose. Seeing the face of Beau for one last final time was great, and then hearing him saying his final words, "You are not alone," that later turns into a story arc, and then it left us spectating like who the face of Beau was talking about. The co-cast were okay, but I do like Brannigan. So overall, good story. So I'll give a score of 7 out of 10. And by the way, that city sunlight at the ending. I know it's not Doctor Who subject. I know it's not a Doctor Who subject, but it does remind me of Coruscant from Star Wars. Anyway, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Joe.
He's got a very good point there. I meant to say to you, it does remind me of Star Wars, that end shot. Did it you?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if that's intentional or just a blatant old rip-off.
Maybe.
But it does.
Maybe. Yeah. Over on Twitter, John Hunt says, a surprisingly incredible story. This might be the only one-part episode that managed to fulfill the entire story. Daniel Fox says, not a very dramatic story, but a fun watch. Tennant is brilliant as always, and I love the surprise return of the Macra. 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Ken Major says, pretty sure the macro were kept secret, so it's a nice reveal. They had an extra layer to a really interesting story, 8 out of 10. And lastly, Roxanne J10 says, end up being a beautiful episode about beings living in an impossible situation. So creative.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Over on Facebook, Adam Pink says, I always enjoy this episode more than I thought I would when I go back to it. Nice return for the Macra, though not very grandiose when compared to other class monster returns. Mind you, the Macra aren't exactly huge villains. I love the Doctor's conversation with Martha about Gallifrey, as well as the face of Bo's death. Not too shabby, really. 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Lewis Palmer, pretty good, if slightly forgettable. It's not one I often return to, I must admit. It was brave of the production team to bring back one of the most obscure monsters ever with the Macra. It was a cool idea for the story. Brannigan was good. Face of Bo's final scene is terrific, as is the 10th Doctor revealing his past to Martha. Overall decent, but not one I often return to. 6 out of 10.
Yes.
Jason Thayer, I like how this story sets up things for later. I also like how Martha won't stand for being the rebound companion, which the Doctor made her at this point as he was still grieving over Rose. I think it's neat that Davies is taking a page out of something Robert Holmes would have done, build a story around something that annoys us, in this case traffic jams. While it's not the best done, it's a good character piece. Markra seem unnecessary, though. I don't like it when the show gives nods to missing episodes. I give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Finn Morris Young says, this was an episode that I watched over and over when I was younger. This episode is okay, but it lacks key quilts. The story is okay and the cast wasn't bad. The Bad Wolf reference is also very subtle. I won't say what it is because it will be fun for you to guess.
Oh, no.
You can't do that, Finn.
Bad Wolf reference? Didn't notice it. Oh,
Finn.
Right, I'll have to Google it. Finn.
It says, overall, an okay episode, 6 out of 10. Okay. This is our last audio clip. This is from The Who Addicts. This is Matt Rowney.
Hey there, Garen Adam. I hope you two are well. Now, Gridlock for me is one of the most underrated stories in all of the modern series of Doctor Who. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The setting of New York was brilliant. I really liked how they went back there. The Russell T Davies era really had a great sense of consistency, one that I don't think we get enough now. But yeah, it was great to return there. Great to see familiar faces like the face of Bo, Novice Hame, etc. But to see what had happened to this city in a matter of years with the disease that had spread, trapping everyone under the motorway, I think that was a great setting, a very claustrophobic space that I really, really liked exploring. The Macra I thought were perfect for this story as well, just loitering at the bottom of the motorway. And of course, it was a very sad but also happy ending. The face of Bo giving his final breath to save everybody was lovely, but of course it was sad to see him pass. But he did give the Doctor that one final secret, which led perfectly into the Series 3 finale. But one thing I will always remember from this episode is the stunning music. I think the music's fantastic, especially at the end when the Doctor sits down with Martha in a rundown alleyway and just describes Gallifrey. It is just, what a beautiful feel-good story this is. It explores all different emotions, and for me, it's a perfect showcase of what Doctor Who is all about. So Gridlock, very underrated. I think it's got to get an 8 out of 10, and that might even be a bit generous. See you guys next week.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. So it might have been Matt that I was thinking of earlier when I said I thought it was your favourite story. Maybe I'm thinking of Matt. Somebody I know is always saying how much they like it. It must be Matt then.
Back on Facebook, Martin Arnold says, sweaty crabs on the Space M25. It says, in all seriousness, one of my favourite New Who episodes. Great self-contained fun episode, a very British sci-fi idea. It's all a bit J.G. Ballard or Douglas Adams, and the scene at the end where the Doctor reminisces about Gallifrey is really good. George Coppin, lovely little episode you can watch without thinking about all the complicated storylines. Love Brannigan, he should return. 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Joseph Howarth said, it's quite a good episode, I have to admit. The scene with the Doctor talking about Gallifrey being a beautiful planet before the Time War happened is a very powerful scene, and perhaps one of my favourite scenes from David Tennant's Doctor. I honestly think Brannigan was the best part of the whole episode, with the cat makeup on. Ardal O'Hanion looks very good on him, and he plays the character brilliantly. The scene where the face of Bo He's saying the Doctor is not alone was very moving. And again, like the scene with the Doctor talking about the Time War at the end, it's a very powerful scene and probably one of the best there is. He goes on to say I've lost my place. There we go. The only downside I have for Gridlocked is that this story in particular doesn't really stand out as an episode. It's an easy watch and it's pretty much got a simple plot to follow from which doesn't require you watching previous episodes for you to understand or follow complicated plot arcs. Cough, cough, Series 6. It's a good episode. Not the most noteworthy of Doctor Who stories, but at least better than what's to come with 2 episodes, which for me leads into a 2-part story that I utterly detest.
What's
7
that?
out of 10. What's that? Daleks in Manhattan. Oh, yeah, Daleks in
Oh,
Manhattan.
Daleks in Manhattan.
And finally, Sammy Satine says, so 10 and Martha arrive on New Earth in New York, where they encounter humans using drugs that are emotions, and where most are stuck on the motorway. Turns out they cannot escape the motorway because the drug Bliss killed everyone, and there's no one to help them. Can 10 get everyone off the motorway? I love how 10 gets so furious. He shuts down all the shops like that. I also love how he talks about Gallifrey at the end. It really does sound beautiful. Martha is good. Ardal O'Hanlon as a cat is great. Love the different cars. They look so homely. Great to see the face of Bo. That You Are Not Alone bit has such a great payoff later.
Yes, it does.
Shame the face of Bo died. That was incredibly sad. She gives it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 from Sammy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything over on the Geeks handbag page?
Yeah. Hang on, I wasn't ready. Right, Dean Jones, he says, one of the more overlooked stories from Series 3, Gridlock is a nice little gem of a story. One of Tennant's best performances, a simple plot with a dark undertones, great music, and an interesting mix of characters. If there's any issues, it's the CGI effects don't hold up as much. Certain moments are just a tiny bit repetitive with the story, and whilst I like Martha, with Freema giving a good performance, the dialogue isn't the strongest. Also, I don't think they could get away with the nudists now. Solid story, 8.5 out of 10 from Dean. Yeah, I forgot about the nudists.
Oh, yeah.
We don't see anything, Dean, not unless you pause and go through it frame by frame. Anyway, Charlie Turner says it has a very interesting concept, this one. Not something I'd like to be stuck in myself, though. Who laugh out loud. Sad that good old Bo died, as I love seeing him, but this sets up the first episode of the 3-part final of Series 3, Utopia, perfectly. I'll admit, though, I had no idea what the macra were on viewing it, so it was a first for me, but I think they didn't get enough screen time. I mean, come on, it's a classic series villain, for goodness sake. But anyway, this episode as a whole is a mix of okay and good, so he's giving it 7 out of 10. Nice. Yeah, I wonder, I don't know that a lot of people would have known the macro back then in terms of the new viewers coming on board. But Matt Whelan says, a weirdly satisfying episode for me. I found Brannigan very camp and very funny. The highlight of the episode, seeing the face of Bo again, was nice, albeit sad because it would be the last time. Overall, 7 out of 10 from Matt. Richard Pierce says, a great episode, one of my favourite David Tennant stories. So many great moments, and if I remember right, it was the first to use the All of the Strange Creatures theme music. Perfectly completes the Face of Bo trilogy.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's a nice piece of music, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Patrick Sherwood says, hi, me again. So this story, I don't think much to this one. It's okay for what is the last scene makes get emotional when the Face of Bo dies. I got emotional on the Doctor's speech at the end about Gallifrey. Is very nice. So he's going to give it a 9 out of 10. Okay, so quite a high score. Hendrix Chaplin, a great end to the 5 billion trilogy. This is fun, thrilling episode, as well as being surprisingly humane and warm. You've got to love Ardal O'Hanlon as Thomas Kincaid Brannigan. That's his full name. Yes, he is good. Just a couple more. So Jace Howells, I thought it was a bit silly, although a nice nod to the macro of terror. Okay, Jace. Aaron Ball, great underrated story with some awesome characters. The thing I wouldn't say I like is the macro, as I'm a massive macro terror fan, even though it's missing, they were used very poorly, he says. So he gives it a 7 out of 10. And finally, Jacob Bourne just simply says, don't forget to talk about Captain Jack. Well, we didn't forget.
We didn't, yes.
No, we didn't. One thing I've picked up, mate, from our comments, I just wonder what your opinion is on this. It seems that a lot of people said, and we said it ourselves, this is a great story, but slightly forgettable, not one we go back to very often. And I'm just wondering, is that because it hasn't got a central villain, do you think? Because it is a great story and it is a good watch, but it's not one I go back to very often. And I'm just wondering, is it because it just hasn't got that extra element, or what is it? What is it about the story? Because it is good.
It's a really good story, yeah. And I think maybe that's it. I mean, like I said originally, I've only seen it a couple of times. It isn't one that I go for that often if I want to watch the Odd Tenant episode from Series 3.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is something about it. I wouldn't say it's forgettable.
No, it's definitely not forgettable.
But I would say that it's definitely, I don't know, I don't know how you would describe it really, because it's a really great story and some great performances and so on. It just never gets brought up that often. So maybe you're right. Maybe because it doesn't have like the key villain or monster.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. But
yeah, I just interested because it's not one I gravitate towards that often to put on. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Very quickly, I had a quick Google while you were reading out some of our comments from the Geeks Hammer page, and I found the Bad Wolf reference.
Oh, good old Google.
In the story. So in I assume it's either in one of the vans. I think it's only a very small picture, but there's a poster hanging up in the background, and it's got Japanese text on it, and the Japanese word is akuro, which apparently translates as bad wolf.
No wonder we didn't see it.
And it's a blink and you miss it sort of poster in the background that apparently, it's a Japanese poster.
I love the fact they went to that much effort for that. That's awesome. Whoever pointed that out, they'll be very disappointed that we just Googled it and didn't actually go back and rewatch it.
But yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
so that's good. Look, thank you very much for your thoughts and feelings and clips and all that stuff. We love that. So yeah, next week, classic week. What we got?
Yeah. Bit of Seventh Doctor next week, and a bit of Cybermen.
A little bit.
Surprisingly, it's called Silver Nemesis, even though the Cybermen look gold. Due to a painting error and some sunshine. So yeah, Silver Nemesis next week. That'll be good. I haven't watched that for a while.
Indeedy.
Yeah. So can you? Is there anything you can roll your R's in? Can you? Because I can't roll them. Can you do that? Silver Nemesis.
There's no R's, mate.
Just one at the end.
You can't really roll that at the end. That'd be weird. That sounds like a pirate rather than.
There's no pirates here.
Yeah. So yeah, Silver Nemesis next week.
Yeah.
I haven't watched much Silver in a while, so that'd be good.
Yeah.
Indeed. Right, that's going to do, I think, for 135.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to 135. It's been a bit of a long one this week, but we have had lots to go through, which I'm sure you guys don't mind. Keeping you in the know, in the loop, letting you know what's going on, all that jazz. So some interesting news. Let us know if any of you guys enter the competition to win the comic relief big breakfast with the 7 Doctors. And more importantly, let us know if you win.
Yeah.
Because we're your new best friends. That'd be good. And also let us know if you sign up to this, the Nerd Block Doctor Who official thing.
I'd love to know what's in it.
Yes. I'd love to know. But you won't find out until various YouTube unboxings and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I might take a punt at the first one.
Will you?
Maybe.
Okay.
See what it's like.
Go on. Do it. Just so I can have a look.
Maybe. But do let us know if you guys are interested in that and if you do sign up. Because we'll be interested to hear your thoughts on how exclusive the items actually are, which we're hoping they are, because it is apparently a proper BBC thing. So that'd be good. And also get your stories in for the Temporal Logbook version 2 or release 2. Get your stories in. We'd love one of our listeners to have a story in the book. How awesome would that be?
Yeah.
Be awesome. Anyways, head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. Listen to all of the episodes on there, plus link off to all of the social stuff. And you can link off to iTunes and give us a subscribe there if you'd be so kind. And if you are an iTunes listener, a review would be amazing because that really helps us. Also, check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag. Do a search for The Geek's Handbag on YouTube and Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, everything.
I'll get that vlog up soon. I got some good footage. Don't worry that I couldn't film in Phantom. I've got plenty from Westminster and loads of other good stuff. Yeah, I'll get editing that vlog.
You do that.
I'll get on it.
Yes, indeedy. So thank you very much again for sticking with us. Next week, 136 Silver Nemesis. So get your reviews in for that. Until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...